seem to catch a bid right now. So it's overall red day, which is good if you've been short, which we have. We're going to enjoy our herb grilled chicken, I suppose. We'll see. I feel like when they say that, it's not always the most flavorful, so it'll be grilled, that's for sure, and we'll take that. And we'll throw you back over to the midday, boys. We're back at 2. Peace.
Thank you, everybody. If you are not ready, boom! Greetings and salutations, beautiful people. Welcome to the Midday Show and your boy on the weekend.
Oh, did he?
A brace.
Yeah, this is the new one, man.
There you go.
Dang.
What does that mean?
I don't know. It doesn't mean anything. What does this mean?
I don't know.
Yeah.
He's the masked assassin.
Not everything has to have a meaning.
I'm sorry for asking that. I apologize. Shout out to JL82, Adrian Patterson, Gorev, Frostin, Jesse, Lowe, Joe. Shout out to Hangry Wife, Shock, Benton. That was an ass whooping we put on them, baby. Shout out to Danny Day, Trizzle, A Proper Dang, Paradox, Christmas, Brown Lightning, Lead, The Conductor, Joey Gets Distracted, and Wampadilla. Pardon me, shout out to Jesse, Sahil, Moxie. We got Mike PD Rider, Nikki KC, and Anurag. We got Georgie, Bax, Roger Noonan, Sit and Spin. Shout out to Shark and Water, The Auspicious Turtle. Byron Hall, Danny Patel, Kirk D, Joey's Vest. Oh, that's an awesome one. I remember that one.
I was going to wear it today.
Were you?
Yeah, I'm going to wear it.
Don't tease us like that, bro. Rise and Shine, Drop Systems, Noonan, 1320 Wolf, Parabolic FOMO. We got Papacito and Ben. Shout out to Richard, Strobe 9, man. All Things Trump. We got Dino Vinceri, PC Hoon. Who else, man? We got Indy. We got Manifest Codes Now. Noon, Loon, and Ronaldo. Good morning to everybody, guys. Hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. Good morning, brother.
Yes, short-lived. Yeah, guys, interesting weekend, that's for sure. A lot going on in the world of sports. Yada, yada, yada. Moving forward, let's take a look at what we got going on for today's trading. We're gonna kick things off with SLV. Oh, Assassino beaming to the punch. Never mind that. We're getting a strong pop. I was thinking we were gonna get somewhat of a continuation here in SLV. That hasn't been the case. We tried the breakout, and then I'm like, you know what? If we come back into the range, the volume did step in on the lower time frames here, and then we didn't get the continuation, and it came back in, and I'm like, oh no, that's not good. And then you essentially failed to establish a new high right here, forming a lower high, and then eventually you get that breakdown here in SLV. So we go over 2 on SLV, and then our next look was on Novo Nordisk to the short side here, guys. I was just checking here. This is the pre-market to see if I needed short, so that's like that's nothing, a handful there, small win, and then we get a break even here, and then this is when we really hammered it after that third test, and then we get that move to the downside. So I'm still sitting on approximately 40% of it. We go so far 1 for 2 and a couple break evens on that front. Let's see if we're going to get a continuation and a break of that $40 mark. I know Neil was talking about it earlier. There is somewhat of a supply zone there. Nothing substantial in Novo Nordisk, but a strong pop right here, and I'm like, oh no, you're not going to fake me out here today. So hopefully we get a retest of this zone, and then what I have unrealized here is going to put us nicely green. Now, aside from that, guys, let's take a look at some of the tickers that we were going over. We went over silver at Novo Nordisk. We talked about the options chain this morning on SLV, and I was taking a look at NVO put side at that $40 mark. There is a little bit of open interest, so keep that in mind. $80 strike price, holding to a T, 79.81, and then eventually you get that downside pressure. And then through the 90s, guys, 95 here on NVDA, showing a little bit of size and supply. So we're struggling at those zones. Go with the flow. It looks like we're headed to the south side. And then again, guys, a pre-market rally on NVDA. I'm like, watch out. This could lead to some intraday selling, and that has been the case so far. So the Q sliding. We have Novo still sliding, silver, and NVDA to the downside, brother.
All right, guys. There's not a whole lot going today. The Russell 2000 is absolutely getting destroyed. The IWM Russell 2000 ETF is far and away the worst performing major average on the date, is down over 2%. The IWM is down 2.15. And as I see them, there isn't a whole lot in the world of small cap gappers. But let's get to the charts here, what we've got on the side, and talk about what we're doing. So as you can see, I've worked in the CETY. This one, to me, it looks like the best of the bunch, but it does have many different deficiencies, the most important of which is the volume. CETY is not doing a sufficient amount of volume, at least not by my standards, given the time and given the price of the stock. It's about 2.8 million shares. It's a 93 penny name, and it's done this at 11.05. So we'll wait and see. Why I got into this is what I perceive to be an ascending wedge pattern with some higher lows, and I perceive there to be a seller, a very, very staunchy, committed seller at 95 pennies. Alas, we've been up there multiple times, but look how quickly, Joseph, we've spent time.
I really like the way that looks right
above 95 pennies. Joseph, like every time we move up of 95, there's an instant sell order that comes in, whether it was at 9.45 or whether it was that 1040 candle that pushed us all the way down. So CETY, again, a lot of deficiencies with this one, but we're going to give this one the old community college try. GNPRX is another good one, but it's also suffering from very similar afflictions, which is volume. $2.25. Given 11.05, the time of the day, it's only done 3.4 million shares. Moreover, the volume profile is declining. So it's down and to the right. Those volume bars are getting smaller and smaller. That means the amount of volume participation is lessening. So I'm not saying that that's an immediate turnaround catalyst, but it is something to be on the lookout for. So 2.25 is where we're trading at right now. I like that 215 level for the 10 EMA on the 5. Moreover, I like that 210 level because that's where the volume weighted average price is. I'm also looking at SLS. SLS had a nice breakout above 4.5, just a little bit more than 4.5. It looked like the sellers were coming in generally at that 4.5 level, but not exactly. 455 seems to be a top as well. Getting a bit of resistance now at 4.75. It's up about 14%, but also suffering from that same problem that the others are suffering from, which are lower highs. We're going to pause for a second, and I'll go over the other ones that I've got on my chart.
Yeah, just keep an eye here on some of these cybersecurity plays, particularly Palo Alto Networks, as Nvidia makes a cybersecurity-related announcement saying they're going to be collaborating with companies including Palo Alto Networks, the only public company they mentioned, though Simians also comes up, to bring accelerated computing and AI to OT cybersecurity. So again, NVDA making an announcement here on cybersecurity and mentioning a collaboration with PANW as part of said announcement. Both of these companies, or both these stocks rather, Nvidia and Palo Alto Networks, near intraday lows as of right now, but just worth mentioning. Back to you.
TNDM is the other one that I'm looking at. This one was a big winner for me on Friday. This is single-handedly the reason why I finished flat on the day while almost being shut down, because we took a larger position on TNDM once it broke trend. Now, this one is suffering from the same problems that it suffered from on Friday, which is low volume and a prohibitively wide spread relative to the price. So I like the way it's looking right now. It's got a nice hold off VWAP. It seems to have broken trend, which was basically an uninterrupted lower high ever since that 27.92 high a day that we put in at 9:45. And now we seem to be getting some resistance here at around 27 1/3, 27 1/4. But we are putting in higher lows, and we are above the 10 EMA. If you're going to trade TNDM, you've got to adjust your trading style to account for the price, the spread, and the relative illiquidity. So GNPRX I've talked about. ALUR, I'm going to keep this up here just for the time being. I really don't know how to approach this because it's basically straddling VWAP, neither from the top side nor from the low side. It is sort of the line of best fit. Look how VWAP, the white line on the black charts, always cuts through the middle of the price action. It's above VWAP, it's below VWAP. If I really had to choose an indicator off which this is finding support, it is the yellow line. And that yellow line will always be the 20 exponential moving average on the 5 on all my charts, okay? Because I won't be showing you anything on the black charts that's not the 5. So ALUR, you could size in here at a little bit less than 1 2/3. I personally would give it to the $0.50 where it's shown, it's proven that it has support. Look at that double bottom at 9.55 and 10, and it hasn't been at around 9.5 quite yet, with the view to possibly taking out that 180 level. And you can very, very clearly see that the selling is coming in between 175 to 180, despite the fact, again, that you've been up to 198. That's a high of the day. And you were up higher in the pre. You're up into 222. That's a pre-market high, substantially higher. And by the way, that pre-market high at 9 a.m. was on less volume than we did at the open. at 9:30. So keep that in mind. Those are what I'm looking at right now. But there goes CETY into my area right there. We're taking more on CETY. We got 94s. It's showing 97s. So I'm looking for continuation into 99.80. That's the high of the day, Joey.
Nice look there on CETY. When I had it up here, Sharif, I'm like, I was like, man, I don't see too much liquidity on that.
There isn't. You're right.
Yeah. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna avoid that. But really nice play on that one there, brother, because that was a good pattern forming and way to hold through that. For me, I kind of shied away from it just due to the fact of the lack of liquidity. But that was a really nice play. All right, guys, moving forward, let's see what we got there. Now I've took the majority of my position off here on Novo. You can see we got that 40 break, and then I really started to piece it out. So I'm sitting on approximately 10% of my remaining position from up here, and we had double the amount of size, and this was just a tester to see if we needed to order anything. And then this one came back against me. We were nicely in the money, but then it came back to my break even, and then I'm like, all right, let's be patient. It did eventually head a little lower, but then it squeezed back up, failed to construct a new high, and then boom, flush right down, and the momentum really started to pick up as we started to head towards the volume weighted average price. So I'm like, you know what, let's re-short this thing, let's get involved one more time and double up our size, just due to the fact that we also took a loss on silver at the time as well. But this is what I want to pull up here on SLV, and then we're going to take a look at NVDA's options chain, guys. So on SLV, expiring February 27th, you can see at this $80 mark, this is really starting to grow in size. So we had a high of intraday high of 79.76, and then eventually the hedgies or whoever's going against the grain on this one is pushing prices lower because it's supply zone. You want this to essentially close OTM, right? So there it is, a nice look there on SLV supply. We were looking at that earlier this morning as well too when I brought up the options chain. Moving forward now, let's take a look at what we got going on with whoa.
What?
Okay. No, I didn't recognize that. So we'll do a little comparison right now, Sharif. I don't know if okay, so yeah, we were looking at the implied volatility here on silver this morning. I think it was around 80% or so, and now it's bumped up about another 20% from that mark now to 103%. So the increase in volatility, very interesting, and sure enough, we did experience some downside here in silver. Now moving forward, we'll head back to NVDA and see what we got going on here, guys. Now there is some supply zones, I think 195. I was like, okay, we'll keep an eye out on this one, because if we don't break and breach this, then we might head a little bit to the south, and that has been the narrative. So 193.88, we ran into some trouble, and then now we're heading south. So whatever gains we had in the Nasdaq and some of these other players on Friday have now unfortunately been erased, but that's okay. Moving forward, let's take a look at our scan. There wasn't too much on my list, really. I had those two names. I had silver and Novo, and that's really what we've been trading here today. And that's all I'm going to be looking forward to. Maybe some Nasdaq. Nasdaq wasn't too bad for us last week, but I'm not going to try to catch a falling knife at this point. Katina Man's been short for quite some time, so we'll hit this for my boy over there. He was crushing it today, and this one there as he goes in, and it looks like he's hitting the gym now. He's going to get some swimming on as he's walking, putting his mic back. We can't get can we get an angle of Katina Man getting ready to go lift some weights there? He's ready. No, we're not. You're not going to get it, Katina. That's all right. Now he's talking to Andre. Yeah. But other than that, Sharif, we're just holding on to 10% of our Novo. The market's still sliding. Silver stuck in limbo. So I'm going to be sitting on my hands for a little bit. We're still in a position.
All right. Shout out to Zen Zombie.
Yeah. Oh, come back. Where is he? Where's my boy? There he is.
Oh, there he is.
Wow, okay. Shoulder day?
Shoulder day.
I love it.
Oh, the shoulder
Get it,
day.
Joey. SGN, thank you very much, Zen Zombie. I'll cover that in one hot second. Let's cover the trade here on CETY. Scalped up into 98 2/3. We're in at 94, showing a little bit of resistance at that 97.50 where we've been rejecting basically all day. I'm going to look for that, just higher low trend to hold here on CETY. We'll give this one the old college try. I've also worked into GNPRX. Pulls into the 10 EMA on the 5. Now it's showing me 20s. I got 19s on. There's the first print. There's the second print now. We're layering the orders here on GNPRX, looking for a move above the $0.25. 24 pennies is the high of the day. We're going to give this one a try as well. Looking for the next print, 22s, 23s. There's 22. Let's see if it can cross. We'll get the print if it crosses. If not, we'll have to wait. But I also want to talk about SGN, because not just Zen Zombie, thank you for the super Zen for that, but a lot of you guys were yelling about SGN as well, so, and rightfully so. This has been a good looker. I mean, it started moving, I want to say, looks like it started moving on the 17th. Let me just flip to the 15 to see if it was making moves before that. Yeah, it looks like the 11th, it had to move on the 12th, calm down, then the 17th. So this has been a multi-day runner. So this is the 50-minute on SGN. So it's multi-day runner. It was basically a 15 penny name back on the 10th of February. Now it's at 73.68 high. Let's flip back to the 5. Now, what's my move going to be on this? Well, I like this 2/3 of a penny level. Why? 8 a.m. price spike up into 2/3. 9:35, 9:40, price spike up into essentially 9:69. Let's just say 2/3, okay? And then you finally get the decisive break at 5 to 11, 10:55, and then you get the continuation candle into 11. So if we're going to use that, let's just say 2/3 of a level as resistance twice, well, maybe, just maybe, it might use it as support. And it already shown you that it has. Look at this candle here at 11:10. It dips down, it holds 68 pennies, and now we're at 71.50. So it's already tested that breakout level with success. Now, I would say the success really comes when you test the level and then you go on to make another high. And here it comes into 72. So SGN, absolutely agree with you guys. In focus here. We're going to be looking to execute on SGN, but it's got to be at the right price at the right time. Otherwise, we'll just be chasing it and it'll be a little bit risky. So that's my look there. Looks like GNPS, we got a couple of beak wetters, but it's coming back down into the 10. So I have to be alive to this one. And now the spread is opening up on GNPX from 1 penny into 3.18 on the bid, 15 on the ask. That's not what I'm, or sorry, the other way around. That's not what I'm looking for there. So I'm going to keep a close eye on this one, see if it wants to ride trend. I have my stop below the volume weighted average price, which is showing 211s. I've strategically placed it to kind of try to avoid some stop hunting, but we'll see what ends up happening with that, Joey.
All right, good look there, brother. So you're starting to experience a little bit of a pullback here at Novo. Trying to think if I should engage here in this short. We kind of got an over-under play, right, or an under-over support. You get this strong bounce back, and I'm like, oh, you dog, you. Oh. Excuse me, and I didn't take the long. But that's okay, because I essentially just want to go with the flow. But there's just so many things going on with this right now. It's like, all right, you have this higher low being established, but then this downtrend is still fully intact. So silver might be a little bit more of a tricky play, considering we were in some Novo, more, I would like to say straightforward, considering the fact that you have this massive move lower in the pre-market, and then you've just been bleeding throughout the intraday session. This has been more or less stuck in limbo. Trying to catch the bottom here on Nvidia. I wouldn't be surprised if we get somewhat of a bounce. But Gaurav and I, I'm pretty sure we agree on this on multiple occasions. This is one of the first things I wrote down here this morning as I seen Nvidia slowly grinding higher in the pre-market. I'm like, watch out for some intraday selling, literally saying that for quite some time now. So we'll keep an eye out on that. If you are looking for the long, instead of buying the breakout, you do obviously want to try and get as close to the lower end of the range as you can. That way you can really increase your risk to reward. If it does breach specific zones, then you don't have to wait. Because essentially, if you're buying the top, you're not going to be proving yourself wrong until a little bit south of this supply zone or this consolidation. So if you're closer to the lower end of it, then you can really increase your risk to reward. And that's where I went wrong here this morning on silver. We'll pull that up here again. Just the fact that, look what I'm doing, like I'm buying the top end here. I was looking for the continuation because that was some strong candles. Should have kept a closer eye on the volume, but I was thinking that, hey, okay, we're gonna go and get a retest of this high. We like that, and then we'll slowly take some off. We'll take the majority of our position off at the break of this high. That wasn't the case. But then I try again, and what Katina Man did really well here was just playing this ebb and flow within SLV. So he was in at a lower end of the range. I think he had 78.65s. So that gave him the ability to just kind of piece him out throughout this zone. But I bought the top end of the range on this volume increase, but we didn't get the move. Sharif, it sounds like you got something going there.
Yeah, it's okay. CETY just got into the high of the day, into 99.80. We wet the beak there into 99 and change. Now I'm posted at 102, 103. We're looking for the continuation above $1. My bias on CETY was ascending wedge flat top break. Let's see if, you know, it follows the rest of the assessment here and kind of has a measured move. That would be the distance, of course, of the wide part of the wedge, and then project that upward through the breakout area. We'll see if it gets into it. But I'm also trying to get into TNDM. I hesitated. I didn't want to punch in at highs, even though I saw a triple top on the 5-minute at 27.50. I said to myself, look, wait for this one to come back into the 10 EMA on the 5, which is around the quarter or now a third of $1. And that's why you see a dip trade there on TNDM unfilled, because I was looking for that move back into the 10 EMA. It didn't give it to me. Now it's at local area highs, with prior bar high being 61, current bar high also 660. It's showing 61 on the bid. So that's what I'm looking at there. I'd like to work into TNDM, knowing full well that it's obviously very spready, and it's going to be a little bit dangerous for those who are looking for tighter spreads and fast action, because this one, it really doesn't have either, nor tight spread nor fast action. SGN is making a move here, guys. So I want to bring your attention to SGN and the possible flat top break that we could get. There looks like there's a lot of selling at 72, save and except for the candle at 11, which did find 73 2/3 as an area of resistance. But when you look at the closing prints and the wicks of the subsequent candles, they're all rejecting at 72. They are finding good area of support, as we talked about, off the previous area of resistance. So be on the lookout here. SGN could be a $0.75 breaker. And if it really gets going, man, who knows? It could hit the $1. We're going to pause for a second. We'll talk about this when we get back.
Interesting look here for ASTI. This is Ascent Solar Technologies. This company trading higher after, I guess there is a photo suggesting that StarCloud, which is a group doing data centers in space, liked a post that claimed ASTI and StarCloud together could be a match for the heavens. So once again, StarCloud's official social media account liking a post about a potential partnership with ASTI, sending ASTI to the upside. It's worth clarifying there is, to my knowledge, zero confirmation of any partnership with ASTI and StarCloud at this time. Back to you.
All right, GNPX taking out some orders as well. This one could be headed up for the $0.25 break. It's a 24-penny high. It just flashed 23s. So GNPX looking good as well. So TNDM, CETY, GNPX, they're all doing well. And there goes SGN. Dang it, where's my SGN? I don't even have it up on a trading screen, Joey. Talk about being unprepared. Yeah, I pontificate about this bad boy off the black charts. This is Amex? It is. Oh, right away, it's under suspicion here. But there goes SGN, 73.81 high. I'm talking about pennies. I'm not talking about dollars. It is sub $1, but it just found support at the 10 EMA, rockets up. So be on the lookout for this one. And this one, if I'm not mistaken, is doing volume. Yeah, we got 120 million shares here, albeit on a 73-penny name and at about 20 after 11. But it's done ample amount of volume, and the spread is kind of tight, relatively speaking, Joey.
All right, brother. Good look there. I like how you feel about Amex, how I feel about the New York Stock Exchange.
Can I say, I feel both of them are, I feel the same way. Can I say why? Because we can't see the tap.
Can't see the tap. That's
blind,
fair,
right?
That's fair, man. And NYSE stocks tend to open up a little bit later sometimes. Like you have like the Alibabas, it's like 5 minutes. It's like, yo, what is going on here? Like you know that you've known every day of the week, every day it opens up at 9:30.
Show up to work on time. I'm like,
Exactly. Yeah. Anyways, aside from that, guys,
we could point out somebody here, Joey, but we're not going to do it. We said like show up to work on time. We could point out somebody we're not going to do it.
We're not going to mention any. We're not going to mention any names around
She'll
this.
Get mad,
She'll get mad at us. All right, Adair, what do you have?
Keep an eye here on MSOS. This is pushing higher a newsletter called the Dales Report, which is, I guess, focused on the stocks and business of cannabis and psychedelics, quote unquote. One of their reporters just posted, quote, based on my contacts, I think there is a good chance that the cannabis rescheduling gets finalized this week. So again, MSOS here, potential rescheduling being finalized this week. That reporter speculation sending MSOS to the upside. Back to you.
Good stuff. Yeah, so silver continuing to climb higher. There was a nice little print on the lower time frame on the 1 minute here. And I'm like, you know what? Is this going to be it, or are we going to really continue to the downside? And you know what? It was a bounce, immediate volume stepping in, and you can see the strength within these 1 minute prints. Absolutely insane. I want to take a step back here momentarily. Is NYC Urbanista in the chat? I'm going to see if I can find her. No, she's not. Anyways, if you are, and if you hear anything that I'm saying, yeah, just tag me. I want to know if you're in the chat, NYC Urbanista. Moving forward, let's take a look at the overall market. I've seen a couple people go, hey, I'm long the TQQs. I'm thinking about doing the exact same thing and maybe even heading over to NVDA. But same narrative, guys. I'm talking about getting the lower end of the range and not buying the top end, just so you can really increase that risk to reward ratio. So I want to grab 189, maybe 70s at the most, I think I would be comfortable with, but you can slowly see that we're starting to form these higher lows, right? Now we're bouncing off of that zone once again, that 190 mark, and then we're climbing a little bit higher. I don't know about the TQQs just yet. You did start to form a little bit of a base, holding 47.68, and then now you're climbing. So if this breaches, considering we have multiple touches on this, I guess we'll call it a tertiary trend line here, right? Because I mean, it's not a secondary trend, it's a trend within the, anyways, aside from that, if this opens up south of there, then I would look to get out and be like, hey, maybe the long isn't ready to be engaged just yet. And the same thing with silver. Is this the liquidity grab that is like in order for us to climb a little bit higher? Don't forget, we have a substantial supply zone there on SLV at that $80 mark. We're gonna move forward and take a look at gold as well. Wow, gold is just blowing past that. Okay, let's pull up the gold options chain right now. NYC, is she in here? Oh, maybe she'll come a little bit later in the day, or we'll find her sometime during the week, because I have some kind words for that individual. Yeah.
Nice, Joey.
Yeah, exactly. Kind words for the majority
You're
of you.
You're a kind man.
I am kind.
I'm setting you up for that, my boy.
I am kind, yeah. So the majority of people, my boy Gore, we got lost. Yeah, shout out to Xerxes. My boy Gore of Los Pollos, obviously Mike Peter Ryder, always positive. Nick W, 2NY, MF Dangerous, everybody in the chat, man. Don't forget, I didn't forget about you guys. GLD and everyone else. So yeah, moving forward, guys, let's take a look at gold. And we were talking about the supply. Whoa. Okay. That kind of freaked me out there.
Okay, guys, SGN is going. That's all I want to say. SGN is going. Be on the lookout.
Okay, 490. So we have some room, right? We're at 480 right now. 490 might be a little bit of a magnet effect here. I thought we were blowing past. I thought it was like 480 or 485 or something along those lines on gold here. 122,000 on 490. Keep an eye out on that mark. And then back to silver's options chain. We are going to run into that supply zone right at that $80 strike, Shreve.
All right, Cloud King, BNAI is a little bit light on volume. I'm also not a big fan of the chart pattern. I'm looking at the 5 right now. It's up nice, 13.16. It's not a bad look for BNAI. I'm just not a big fan of the chart pattern. Guys, SGN is on the rampage to the high side. There it goes into the day high of 79.50. I'm talking about pennies, but it is now up about 50% on the day. It's looking real good here. I haven't had a trade on it, sadly. I'm involved in 3 others, and they're all doing quite well. GNPX, we just got into the high of the day with the beak at 25. What do we have on GNPX? Not much. 18s, but not a bad trade. Also, CETY continues to hold trend. I've got a bias that this one breaks through $1, so I'm trying to pack the patience. Moreover, I got into a new trade. ALUR, we're wetting the beak. I'm in at 67. The best print I have is 75. I see an ascending wedge pattern as well on ALUR, ALUR. You know, this one is a little bit more elongated than some of the other ones, but I think it's hard to argue with the higher low pattern here. Like if you start from after the 9 a.m. spike, let's go with the 9:05, higher lows, higher low. All of these ones are higher lows with essentially, I don't want to say it's the exact same price for the flat top, but it's a range. Let's go 175 to 180 for the majority of the prints. I realize that 945 got higher. I realize 930 got higher. So I'm trying to build a position into this one, wet the beak on the moves up, and then look, you know, we'll hold a piece for the dream, so to speak, for if it manifests into an eventual flat top break. So ALUR, CETY, and GNPX, we're doing it live on all 3. We'll see kind of what we get in terms of breakout levels. Now, when ALUR, not if, but it feels like when it comes down into that 60 penny level or the volume weighted average price, which is around 65, I think I'm going to be looking to get in a little bit more. I'm not going to go full size like I did initially, but we'll build a position on ALUR for a flat top break. We're going to pause for a second, guys. We got to go because we have breaking news.
PayPal is halted on volatility after Bloomberg reported that the company is said to attract takeover interest after, quote, stock slump. We know also they just recently had a CEO transition going from Alex Chris to Enrique Lores. But either way here, Bloomberg reporting that PayPal is said to attract takeover interest following its recent stock slump. If I get more details, I'll let you know. Volatility halt for PYPL. Back to you.
Sounds good. Thank you very much for that. All right, guys, we'll keep an eye on PayPal and we'll let you know what the situation is. Thanks for that. What do you got, Joey?
Yeah, I'm going to pull up PayPal here for the folks here at Trader TV Live. And we're looking at a top here of around $43.32. So PayPal is definitely on the move up without any questioning there, guys. And it's currently halted with a top now of 43.88. All right, so if you've been on the right side of that thing, then I don't know who's really. Have you been traded? Good call out, guys. I seen it in the chat relatively early. So way to call that one out. If you guys have been trading PayPal, please put it in there. I'm curious to know what everybody's been up to.
I think it might require a quick message now. You know, to who?
Oh yeah. Oh damn. Yeah. Get out.
Oh, that's so funny.
Buy more.
Here's the article or pseudo article from Bloomberg. Let's look over and read it out for those who are looking for the headline. PayPal is attracting takeover interest from potential buyers after the stock slide wiped out almost half of its value. People familiar with the matter told Bloomberg's Ryan Gould, Matthew Monks, and Dinesh Nair, as well as Paige Smith. The digital payments company has fielded meetings with banks amid unsolicited interest from suitors, and at least one large rival is looking at the whole company, while other suitors are only interested in certain PayPal assets, said other sources, who added that buyer interest is still at the preliminary stage and may not lead to a transaction, according to the report. So there you go, guys. You can screenshot that. That's the summary of the article that I have. It's being reported by Bloomberg. Of course, we will keep you guys apprised should anything else develop, Joey. So interesting developments here in the world of PayPal.
Yeah, $45 top now. On PayPal. So you're in the money there, Los Polios. Yeah, I know, Gorev. That's what I was looking at here on SLV. I'm like, why didn't I just take it? Same thing here with NVDA, guys. A little bit of an inverted, but I wouldn't go against this grain right now if the market's going to pull back towards the volume-weighted average price and slowly curl back over. That's what I'm going to be looking for, and I'm going to have to be patient to wait and see how we react around these specific zones. If it doesn't come into play, then so be it. I have no issues with it whatsoever. I just realized, I'm like, hey, I don't know why this platform, it won't show VWAP for quite some time. So what do I do, being the genius? This is me being highly sarcastic. I finally read in what it tells me why it won't display the volume-weighted average price. And then sure enough, all I have to do is go back a little bit more, Sharif, and give it more data so it can calculate the indicator. So, yeah, exactly, right?
Good move, bro.
I mean,
it's a good figuring it out. You know what I mean? Like,
but I was going months with it just being like, oh, hey, I'm just kind of flying blind here. But then eventually, well, I mean, I wouldn't really call it figuring it out. All I had to do was hit a button right next to where it says VWAP and there's an exclamation mark. And if I decided to hit that and actually read what it said, I would have figured it out a long time ago. But I mean, everything happens for a reason, right? At the end of the day. So maybe, yeah. So there it is on NVDA starting to climb. Now we have silver right into the top end of this supply zone that we consolidated for almost an hour earlier in the day. We have a liquidity grab to the south side. It looked like the momentum and the trend was going to continue to the southeast, but that hasn't been the case. We get a strong rebound, but one thing to know, we got NVO heading right back to exactly where we wanted. A good reload opportunity that we did not take advantage of, but that's all right. We'll be patient and wait for some higher quality chances because we got NVDA running into a resistance zone potentially here as well too, brother.
All right, man.
Go ahead. Sorry,
Joey.
one more thing. So it did. PayPal's back open here, guys. The top was 45. It tapped into 45.52, but now it's slowly starting to come back in. Be cautious with this one. Don't go gung ho just yet. The volatility is most definitely stepped into this.
Yeah, watching that 45.66 high. Be on the lookout, guys. PayPal was halted. We just read to you guys the takeover interest. It's being reported by now Reuters, initially by Bloomberg. I'm seeing it on both news agencies now, so be on the lookout for that. I got into a new trade now, TNDM. We're in at the third of a dollar. There it is into the half. For the moment, we do have the area low, looking for continuation now above the $0.50. We did put size on this one, so let's see, because this one was a good one for me on Friday, but I am quite cognizant of the fact that this one did bamboozle me before I was able to make money on it on Friday. So let's be careful with this one, TNDM. Right now showing a 6-penny spread, and there it goes above the $0.50 now. We're going to take out more here as this one is running up. There it goes into 59.62 now. It's taking out all my orders, and we did put some size on this one, so let's see if it can take out that $28 at a 27.92 high, guys. Be on the lookout. We're going to pause for a second, Joey and I. We're going to send you to Adara for the crypto segment.
I'll be brief because there's lots of excitement, especially with PayPal, but I'll take a look here at BTC. Bitcoin, third straight day to the downside. Right now, actually below the 66,000 level, but above this intraday low here of around 64,200. Interesting story came out about 20 minutes ago. Financial Times reporting that the Board of Peace, which of course is led by U.S. President Trump and features world leaders from around the globe, they're reportedly eyeing a stablecoin for Gaza. Now, this would be a U.S. dollar-backed stablecoin to retrieve the economy of Gaza. This initiative is reportedly still in its early stages, but it would enable to, I guess aim to enable digital transactions while limiting cash flow otherwise. Interesting look here for this potential stablecoin in Gaza. If I get more details, of course, I will let you know. Not a massive story, but I think an interesting one to mention, given that we're now doing our crypto segment. Now, in terms of Bitcoin, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 6 weeks now of selling. That's right. If BTC closes red this week, it will be its 6th straight week to the downside, though it's holding up quite nicely compared to that drop going as low as 60,000 that we got to going back to Monday, the week of Monday, February 2nd. So we'll have to wait and see here if BTC can end this red streak or close the 6th straight week to the downside. Back to you.
All right, Joey, what are you looking at, my man?
All right, I got my eyes on PayPal here for the folks. So yeah, Los Polio saying $100 takeover price. He doesn't have to trade for a couple of weeks. I then replied, if IBIT hits $500, I never have to trade again. Oh. So yeah, we'll hit that. We'll hit that one there. Obviously not, because we are nowhere close to that whatsoever. We'll hit this on the boy there. We'll hit that on Team Canada losing as well.
I wanted to correct myself, by the way. On Friday or Thursday, whatever day it was, I said I was out of the money on 2 positions.
Yeah.
Joby, what's it called? Joby, BMNR.
Yeah.
I'm out of the money on my IBIT. I
misspoke
on that.
Are you going to be allocating any more?
Yeah. I get little by little. I'm talking about the long-term account, of course. Yep. I don't get too aggressive at any one area, nor do I shy away from adding on up days if the trend is telling me
buying the strength too. Yeah, I like that for sure. But see, see how you mentioned that? Like you're not really like being congestive. And what I mean by that is like buying a lot at a certain price. Just like a little bit here, and there. Yeah. And that's what kind of confused me about strategy. Right? You know what I mean? It was like really congestive. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, what was up with that? If that makes
sense. Is he buying at technical levels?
Like, I didn't see him any, dude. It was just like it's not doing anything. He's buying another couple thousand there. It's not doing anything. And all right, let's get involved here with a little short side on the SLV. I mean, this is gonna be my last attempt on this bad boy here. If it doesn't break down, then we're gonna have to just avoid it, considering we'll be 0 for 3 on it, and that means I'm just not in sync with what we got going on with this specific underlying. We have the supply zone over at 80. I'm going to try to catch the lower end of the range. And I mean, we're green thanks to Novo Nordisk. But if I'm wrong here, what I have on the unrealized side on Novo unfortunately won't mitigate that loss that we're going to take here on SLV. But I don't want to manifest the loss, kind of like it sounds like I am. But I want to get in at the right place, right time, and I want to size accordingly. All right. I mean, what are we here to do? We got to trade a little bit as well. And if it breaks up, then so be it. We took our attempts. Oh, see, yeah. See, there's a lot of ebb and flow right now. The price action is a little bit more difficult for me to navigate here on SLV. There it is on PayPal. We're going to get away from this name right now, as it is slightly forming a somewhat of a bull flag. Very interesting. I'm going to keep my eyes on this and pull it up on a different time frame and charting, just so I can get a clearer picture. But yeah, that's what we got going on here. We're still in Novo. We're looking to get involved in some silver, maybe to the short side, but we'll be a little bit more patient on this front, because we've also gone over this on multiple occasions, is that this consolidation, you have this move lower, and if we consolidate for another 10, 15 minutes, this is a fairly bullish pattern. And we can go back on daily history and refer to exactly what I'm talking about, just that consolidation, V-shaped consolidation breakout. And it's Google, Tesla, and there's a couple other names that we used to go over examples with last year, which was surprisingly so, like early last year, maybe even late 2024. So yeah, we'll keep an eye out on that. Novo Nordisk not doing too much. PayPal still hovering around that $45 mark, and silver, I can't really find a direction on it right now. So maybe it's just best I avoid it, but I still want to look for a quality opportunity.
Fair enough, Joey, fair enough. All right. I'm done my trade on TNDM. I'm happy with how this one went. I was, hoping for a little bit more. I was of the bias that we would get that 2/3 of a dollar break, but we did quite well on it. I took more size than I typically do at the candle low, so we scalped out. Now, if it takes out that 2/3 of a dollar and shows its, intentions of getting back up into 27.92, which is the current high of the day, let's just say 28, I'm going to get back in. That is, of course, predicated upon it taking out 2/3 of a dollar. Drop System says CDIO. Let me have a quick look at CDIO. A little light on volume, brother. 2.25 million shares on a $5.6 million market cap. Cardio Diagnostics, CDIO. This is a former convict. We know about this one quite well. It shows up from time to time on the scanner. Today, a bit of I want to say a bit of an inside day, ensconced by the highs and the lows of Friday's price action. So not a bad look. I like it in terms of the ascending wedge pattern. I think that's maybe what you're looking at for a decisive clearing of 3 and a 5th. But I don't think it's for me, but it's not bad. It's up 5% on the day, give or take. I'll keep an eye on it. Thank you for that. I did weasel in to SGN. I didn't have an opportunity to get in before. I was joking with somebody in the chat. I was just focused on the other ones. We're in now. We're in at 74. We just wet the beak there at 75. We are still putting in lower highs, so I'm not that optimistic about the breakout coming in right now. But if it does break below the 10 EMA on the 5, which it has defended, I'm out. Simple as that. Okay. Here it comes into 76. I'm waiting at 76. Seller at 76. We're going to post on the penny. Let's go ahead and post at every penny here into 78 with a 79.50 high. If it gets up there, of course, we'll assess whether or not to get in a little bit more. But first and foremost, I'd like to see a decided trend break where we end the lower high trend that we're currently involved in. Again, in the 76, aggressive selling by the shorts and the sellers. There it goes into 76 and a quarter. Takes out a bunch of my orders. 27 obviously still unfilled. So we'll have to pack the patience on that. Grunfeld says FF. Future fuel. Oh, okay. Up 11 3/4. Again, a little light on volume, about 2/3 of a million shares traded on the day, but it's got a decent chart pattern. So let's take a look at it there for the OG Grunfeld. So this is kind of what I perceive to be a couple of bull flags. First bull flag pop, retreat a little bit here into 4.5. That's a mini, let's call that mini bull flag. And then you get a bit more of a pronounced bull flag there with some lower highs. But as you can see, the chart is a little bit light on data as it's sparsely traded. Joey, FF. I was going to use a word for that, but not a bad look, brother. Not a bad look. 11 3/4, nothing to sneeze at. Does it have a catalyst? I don't C1 here experienced a surprise move. 22nd, does it have a catalyst from Friday? I'm not seeing catalyst going back for a while on this. What does this do? Diversified chemical products and biofuels operates 2 segments, chemicals and biofuels. No, you don't say. Chemical segment manufactures specialty chemicals for specific customers. Its custom manufacturing product portfolio includes agro chemicals, adhesion promoters, biocide, intermediate and antioxidant precursor. Okay, cool. Decent looking chart pattern, brother. Thank you for mentioning it. Hangry Wife. Thank you. I do appreciate you, Hangry Wife. Did you take any journalism courses, or are you just no? I'm just a natural shit talker. So you know, it ends up it just it comes with the territory there, Joe.
Natural.
I'm kidding. Thank you, Hangry Wife, for the comment there. CETY trying to move back into that 99.80. Wetting the beak there, looking for a move, Joey, above $1, but there is a whole bunch of selling right south of that whole dollar, 99.80 high a day.
All right, brother. Good luck. I like what David Massey, I believe his name is in the chat. He's just like taking notes, just helps the brain formulate, and yeah, it definitely helps for sure. Because like what I'm writing down here essentially it's not rocket science. It's probably the complete opposite. That of a 2-year-old maybe. It's just like the most basic stuff here. Down 15%, heading towards key support levels. Stock curled over. It's just like the most simplistic material. But yeah. It does help with that a little bit, that's for sure. So, yeah, that'd be a worst case scenario.
Joey.
Los Pollos if Donald Trump gets involved, but I just don't know if PayPal's big enough.
In what?
PayPal.
Oh,
yeah. I just don't think PayPal's big enough.
Did you see the Netflix saga over the weekend? Because one of the board members, Susan Rice, who I'm pretty sure she was Biden's or somebody's. I think she was Obama's actually. Ambassador to the UN. We'll fact check that, but I'm pretty sure she was involved with Obama. She's on the board, right?
She's on the board now.
So she made, I don't know in what context she made this pronouncement, but she's like, you know, when the Democrats take over the House or Congress, let's just put it that way, if it's both, Senate and the House, in the midterms, there's going to be accountability for, you know, the tech CEOs who are bending the knee to Trump. So Trump hears this, obviously, furious, right? He doesn't want to hear that at all. So now he's calling on Netflix to fire her or remove her from the board, right? What did you think he was going to do? Endorse her?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So there's more there coming, but we'll get to that on the news segment.
Yeah, America just doing too much winning these days, man. Still too much winning, man. It's crazy. They just keep winning. It's insane. I don't know what to do with myself. But no, in all seriousness, there goes PayPal, a nice little bounce there.
They actually won on the weekend.
But that's what I'm
you know what I mean?
You
like,
guys are just still winning, right? And just too much winning going on for the poor old north side of the border's sake there. But aside from that, guys, here's PayPal looking to climb a little bit.
Got it, Joe.
Relax there.
Well, yeah, I like this though because I want to see the responses from people in the chat. That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everybody has convictions in how they feel about President Trump. I mean, I don't know anybody who's just on the sideline about President Trump who doesn't have a feeling one way or another. I know how you feel. Yeah. I know very well. Hey, I'm pointing at Randy, by the way. You guys can see him off camera. Yeah, we want to hear it. We want to hear it as long as, you know, it stays
reasonable, right? It stays within a tolerable, reasonable conversation. Let's see, these guys need a little, A. I see what you did there at the A. But that's all right, man. We had the convoy, don't forget about that, so you can thank us for that, if anything. There we go. Oh, man, there goes silver. I think it's really going to slide here. Let's get involved. It's pulling back right now, but we are getting that slow curl over. I didn't catch the top end of the range, which would have been around 79.10s would be more ideal. So, again, I don't chase this thing, but I'm going to do it anyway, Sharif, because...
Is there a good setup, Joey?
Yeah, I think it's going to to be pretty good, but I'm going to get myself in at the right place.
All right, I respect that.
But you know what Drake once said, right?
What did he say?
You only live once, so you may as well, I'm not going to YOLO anything, but I will put myself in a high-quality opportunity. See if we get one more bounce.
You ever heard about reincarnation?
Have I heard of it?
I'm just asking, yeah.
I've definitely heard of it. Have I witnessed it or anything along those lines. I personally haven't.
I personally haven't witnessed it either, bro.
So other than, unless you've watched Passion of the Christ, then you have, but then other than that, no. But there we are. See, you can see I'm at the top end of the range here on SLV. Let's see if we catch this fill. I don't know if it's going to. We are retesting a downtrend right now, but the way that we're just ebb and flowing, we might be able to catch that opportunity, but Novo Nordisk not doing too much right now either.
There goes SGN into the day high. This one feels good because, you know, we're pretty close to bottom wick, and there's 80. We need 80 to cross to get the print. It is an 80 penny high a day. We got 74s on now. SGN looking real good here in the world of small cap gappers. An 80 penny on the dot high. Sadly, it doesn't cross. We don't get the print. We post at 82 for the next one. Going to keep a close eye here on SGN. I'm still holding CETY as I still like the possibility that that does flat top break through the dollar. Continuing to watch, though, SGN as the tape is really picking up here. Sorry, I had to kind of reset that. Come on. Good boy. All right, so topping tail candle now. This could be trouble here on SGN. Touches 80, so almost exactly where it touched prior to that, 79.50. 79.50, candle high at 11.25, excuse me, on the 5, and the 11.45 candle 80. So this could be a double top. I would say confirmation of the double top comes vis-a-vis, I would say, a 71 or a 72.50 penny break, okay? And let me make my case as to why I feel that way. Not like I would short it there, because I would short it below the volume weighted average price, which is currently at 68 pennies. But my theory would be, if this is gonna be a double top, and I'm not saying it is, okay? If it ends up trying to be a double top and it drops back down, I would be looking for the short to break down below this very obvious key area of technical support. You have the 10 EMA on the 5 there, which is shown its basically intentions to be that support level. And you also have prior area resistance from this area crest over here, right? Area trough, area crest. Same general area though. So SGN, we do good on that one, but it's coming back in and coming back in a hurry. This could be trouble. There goes CETY into a dollar.
No
Where's
way.
my dang CETY screen? We don't even take the dollar, Joey. You want to know why?
Why?
Because it didn't cross, my boy.
Dang.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to wet the beak here. We're going to cancel the dollar trade, and we're going to take the half penny less. We're going to move it into 103, and then we're going to move it into 109. All right, not actually 108. Pardon me. Okay, and so that obviously will be, you know, by definition, we'll only get the print if it clears that dollar and it creates new highs days. Well, Ram is on her own now, but when Assassino comes back, I'll ask Ram to put up the poll. Shout out to Eddie. Thank you, Eddie, for the idea there. I'll text you. I didn't get to the opportunity to respond to you, Eddie. I was in the middle of responding, and then I had to take care of this. But thank you for that. That is a good idea there. Zen Zombie bought SGN at 70, sold at 78. Beautiful. That's my man there. That's my man. Great trade there, Zen Zombie. You were the one that actually called out SGN, and based on your super chat, thank you again for that. We called it out. CETY, it's at the dollar right now, Ram, and we want this to clear the dollar. See how it keeps coming into that dollar, Ram, and it doesn't clear. And so when it doesn't clear, we don't get the we don't get the print. There it is now. It's a 101 high now on CETY, looking real good. Can we get a spike? There's 103, Joseph.
Yeah.
It's a 103 high. We're looking real good over here. What do we got on this? 94. We're not even 10 pennies in the money yet, man. Calm down. So we'll wait for that 103 and then wait for that 108. But ideally, it clears the dollar by a sufficient amount. And I don't have exactly a predefined amount to say this is sufficient, this is insufficient. It really does come down to the day, the name, the time, the volume, so many different variables to digest there to say sufficient or insufficient. So we'll see. We'll see what we get here. So in a couple of positions still, guys, but we're looking for that move through the dollar and trying to pack the patience. Now, Cryptog, hockey is now American owned. Yeah, I knew that we were going to hear some chirps on the show today. And the reason is, I mean, it's just impossible to deny. Women's overtime, we lose. Men's overtime, we lose.
Yeah, I don't know.
Hey, did you see what President Trump posted?
No, I don't want
You
to.
didn't see it?
No, I did not.
Oh,
What did he say?
no.
What did he say?
So the bird, I would say that most symbolizes America is the bald eagle, right? And then the one that I would say, would you agree?
Canada goose.
Was the goose.
Oh,
And so the eagle was just
goose.
devouring the loony there, and the loony looked like it had seen better days.
It was the loon, eh?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, at least I can. Can you do the loon sound with your hand?
I used to be able to, though. I used to actually be able to in high school.
How about them
Good
apples?
call, you reminded me.
How
Those were
about
some
them apples
days.
there, Mr. Trump. At least you did.
There goes CETY, guys, into 104. The ascending wedge pattern is manifesting. Where it ends up finding resistance, I don't know. I'm looking for a move into 108. We still have some shares here. I'd like to ride this to its natural conclusion. If it clears the dollar by a substantial amount, Ram, and then it comes back down and tests that $1 again, I may be a buyer of this one again. So we're going to keep an eye. Lemon family. Sorry, Joey.
No, go ahead.
Joe, Sharif, don't worry. Oh, boy. You could get the silver in the cup. Oh, wait. Toronto can't win anything this year. Never mind. Oh, man.
Yeah,
and I forgot, of course, the World Series.
Yeah,
you know what
Canada's on
President
the
Trump
top.
did, too?
What did he do, man?
So, former Prime Minister Trudeau, I think February of last year, did the men's juniors, was the juniors on last year, February, right? Correct?
The World Juniors?
Yes.
It's on every year around Christmas.
Around Christmas, okay.
Yeah, Christmas.
So Trudeau did post something like, you can't take our country, you can't take our game, something like that. It was about a year ago, give or take. So, of course, President Trump finds that tweet, retweets the current result, like just does everything, right?
He's doing the
to kind of
most.
dunk
Hey,
on
come on,
us,
man. Be a
but-
good winner at least. Come on, guys.
Come on, Joey. Can't read, bro. Can't read.
Congratulations to the United States. You beat us once in the Olympics for the first time in 30 years, so I can totally understand that you
Miracle
won
on
it,
Ice, right?
Yeah,
The last one?
Yeah, there was something along those lines. So congratulations to you guys, but don't beat around the bush, man. It was a complete smoke show, a domination. It wasn't even, the game wasn't even close except for in the score. But aside from that, I'm glad that. Well, actually, I'm not glad. But anyways, it is what it is. Sharif knows where I stand on that.
I do.
In the Olympics and everything along those lines.
You were pumped that you wanted to see the NHLers back in the Olympics. I think you were most happy about that.
No,
right?
but remember what I wrote on my page the other day? Why I said why we're not very good anymore.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
From
well,
well. But that's where I stand, right? That's where I stand. Anyways, aside from that, there goes silver. We didn't catch that 79.13 mark that we were looking for. These are all dark pool wicks, and then sure enough, now we're starting to slide once again. So I'm not going to chase it all the way down here, even though the momentum looks like it wants to continue on that trajectory. Oh, why didn't we just take it right at the volume-weighted average price? Oh well, shoulda, coulda, woulda. There's going to be plenty of more opportunities. Is that going to fall into PayPal? Maybe. Let's take a look here and see what we got going on PayPal. A nice indecision print above the volume-weighted average price. Let's see if this move will be sustained. But there goes silver, continuing its downward trajectory right now. So this trend line coming fully intact. And sure enough, we're still holding on to a little bit of Novo Nordisk. You couldn't quite get to VWAP on the Nasdaq and the TQQs. Obviously, one tracing the other. And now you're slowly starting to curl over on that front as well, too. So, man, oh, man. But this is a key neckline here, right?
Key neckline.
Double top with the support level. Even though you have this V-shaped style, watch out for this one as it might continue to bleed its own silvery blood. My boys were making a joke anyways that Team Canada, both the men and the women's, should just head over to the old pawn shop because silver is worth quite a bit these days. So you can get a little bit of something for that. You don't get that. I know other countries, you get quite a bit for winning medals, but I don't think in Canada you get that much, man.
I remember I watched this a video on this before. They were talking about how much each person gets per medal and stuff like that. I don't even remember that.
Yeah, it's I think you get like 20K a gold medal.
I remember it was under the Prime Minister Harper. So this was pre-15.
Yeah.
They had like this
golden days.
All right. You love to go there. Okay. No, but you know how I feel about Prime Minister Carney.
Yeah.
I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. Anyway, there was this or not, it wasn't an event, it was a program called Own the Podium.
Yeah.
And it was like a collaboration between government and private industry to really fund the athletes to the best of their ability so they could actually train, medal, and we did quite well, I think, under that program. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. So,
well, that's the thing with the Americans and like the Chinese. They actually invest in that, and they have like
how about the Norwegians, bro?
Yeah, the Norwegians are absolutely insane, but they build everything, right? They have the institutes, like the performance institutes that you can go there and you can train, opposed to a lot of Canadians have to leave the country to go and train
and that seems to be happening a lot more, which we don't want, obviously. No. RXT says Zen Zombie, say less, my man. Yeah, look, GI 520, you know, I didn't vote for Prime Minister Carney, but he does have good policies on some things that I like, and I'm willing to give him a little bit of time to see them through. I don't think you have to agree, nor does anybody, but that is just my opinion, brother, and that's, I'm going to stick to that. Let's take a look at RXT.
I want to mention something quick here, Sharif. Makeru said something very interesting, and it would be really quick explanation. So he's saying in August 2025, it was predicted that the top sell wall of the Qs would be around 635, and it reached it and has fallen since. Why can options predictions be that or be so good? And it's because it's almost an inside look at the book. You can see where the large participants are hiding out, and that's why we talk about call and put walls, right? So if you were to go further out into an expiration cycle and you see this massive amount of supply, then it can really gauge, like, and we talk about it literally every day. I bring it up every morning. I was just like, hey, this is where the larger participants may be hanging out. And I think that's why the ability to predict what direction an underlying or the overall market will be is because it's almost like a book map, right? Like you can see that activity.
Just before we go to Adara and happening now, thank you, Zen Zombie, for the $2 super chat. Here's a look at RXT Assassino, if we can go to the chart. So the reason this one wasn't in my purview today was because it was trading below the volume weighted average price. It looked like it was gapping up in the pre-market into that 210 level. It lost the bid and lost it quite aggressively at 9:30, as you can see, though. It is finding some general areas of support that it found on Friday in the afternoon, and especially the aftermarket. It did breach it by a little, but found support at the $0.50, coming into $0.75 now. The way that this gets in my focus, or gets on my side chart, I should say, for lack of a better term, is if it gets above 180. Now, I'm going to be watching 180 quite closely. Why? Because VWAP is there, but that's not the end of the matter. It will still put it below the consolidation area low of the pre-market, let alone the pre-market high, which is my rule. So we'll be watching it if it breaches that 180 level, but doesn't mean that I will trade it around there. RXT has been a monster as of late, guys, with that tie-up with Palantir. We'll have to see how this one trades into the afternoon. Joseph and I, we're going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to send it to Adara at the big desk, and then Neil has his lesson of the day.
So much on the market's mind today and this whole week. I mean, of course, later in the week, we're going to get earnings from Nvidia on Wednesday after the bell, but other major companies, including CRM, I believe Dell as well, will also get earnings from Snowflake. Again, Nvidia by far the largest, but another theme on watch this week is going to be tariffs. Now, we know last week, Supreme Court striking down the tariffs, or ruling against, rather, these tariffs from U.S. President Trump. Then he said that he's going to be raising global tariffs from 10% to 15%. And then this morning we got not one, but two True Social posts in a 20-minute span right after the open from 9:30 to 10 a.m. on tariffs. The second one of these, you can kind of see here when he's mentioning that he does not have to go back to Congress to get approval of tariffs. But the first one, pretty interesting as well, basically saying that any country that wants to, quote, play games after the tariff decision is going to face huge tariffs, saying in all caps and 3 exclamation points, buyer beware. So lots of watching the tariff space here for the market. There's also this headline that came out a couple minutes ago from CNBC that I'm seeing some people post about, so I will mention it. CNBC's headline reads, and I quote, China's DeepSeek is set to release a new AI model. A rough period for Nasdaq stocks could follow. Now, of course, this is kind of conjecture and speculation, but this headline is circulating, so I do want to bring it up. Speaking of headlines, massive one here for PayPal. PYPL, a stock that has been quite beaten up, and we actually just recently heard about a month or so ago with their earnings report, they're getting a new CEO. Well, now Bloomberg reporting that PayPal is attracting takeover interest. I also want to mention here a lot of the weakness in this tech space, specifically stocks like CrowdStrike. CRWD on watch, we have Anthropic AI with a new cybersecurity tool, and then CrowdStrike CEO George Kurtz posted on X that he asked Claude, can you make or replicate CrowdStrike? And Claude said that they couldn't. So I think he viewed this as a positive, market seeming to view it as a bit of, as Sean put it, desperation on Kurtz's part, and the stock at its worst was down roughly 10% today. So keep an eye here in CRWD after that, I guess, interaction with AI from CEO George Kurtz. In the meantime, we've got Neil, and he'll be interacting with you all with the lesson of the day. Neil, what do you have for the people today?
Thank you, Adair. We got some relative strength, and most importantly, I want to talk about relative strength off of major events, because I think oftentimes you can just simply look at, okay, are we up, are we down? Stock X is up 1%, the market's up 1%. Okay, it's moving as much as the market, but that shouldn't be how we always view things. And I was talking about this with regards to Microsoft, and it helped to put things into proper categories for myself this morning. Look, we had that big rally on Friday after we finally got a Supreme Court decision, and you had a situation where, you had the big turnaround in the market, and ultimately, the market was closing, kind of holding a consolidation. If you look at the Nasdaq up at top, and sort of the same thing with the ES, and you look at some of the bottoms that we had put in down here, some higher lows, we're higher than the overall week. And what I was sort of saying to people is, try to look at things that have a similar week. Like if it was trend up and had the same higher lows and was still holding those, and it's kind of relatively strong. But anything that was retesting the bottoms as you were getting sort of successive higher lows, those are the types of places where I would want to look for some weakness. Now, one of them was the gap down in IBIT. I'm going to get rid of some of these trend lines to make it a little bit easier. Like one of the first ones was this little gap down in IBIT. To me, because the market was nowhere near retesting the lows from the week, and Bitcoin was. So that made it relatively weak. Now that's an easier one to say, I'm going to favor the short side of the trade because it's relatively weak. Microsoft was another one that I put into that category. Now ultimately, I didn't take the flat bottom break in Microsoft. As you can see here, the market was trying to bounce and again putting in some higher lows when you looked at it from the perspective of the week, but Microsoft was on the bottom threatening to break. But there was one which set out, and we did wait for it all morning, which was Rivian. And this was another example of something that while the market had put in multiple higher lows, each of those support levels corresponded with the actual same bottom here on a downward trending stock. So if there's even a small breakdown in the market, you've got a flat bottom break on the weaker name. And this is where we try to find places where there's A, a good reason to execute, B, to have a good direction to go, and then C, there's room for it to fall. And the other side of that equation for myself, and why I discussed it in these terms, was, well, okay, if we're diddling in the middle in that NASDAQ and we only get to Friday support and bounce, then I want something which is already flushed through and has more room potentially to go. Like, I don't want something which is just going to hit the same resistance area. I want something which is falling, and if we break this, it's got the floodgates opening up, and if we don't, then who cares? It's already showing me trend down, and it should have a little bit more continuation, as opposed to, maybe something like an Apple or an Nvidia today, which, while still not the strongest out there, provided you with an alternate scenario. Like an Apple, I'm not saying you couldn't have shorted the top on Apple. You could have waited patiently for Apple to get up here and put on one short trade that would have been a scalp. But it was stair step up, right? It put in a higher low on Friday. Not that same low when the market was putting in higher lows. So it showed itself as relatively strong. Now, I'm not saying I was smart enough to be like, oh, I like an Apple long. That wasn't my attitude toward it. But it was enough to not want to fade this name. Coming in looking for shorts, I knew which ones I wanted to stay away from because I wanted things that showed demonstrable weakness relative to what happened that week, and especially relative to what happened on Friday when we had that big turnaround. So a lot of times when we get a big event or a big market move or a reversal or a news story or an economic number, we get all excited because of that extra volatility. and what it creates, but we should take the time to differentiate between the types of movements in each individual stock that you're going to be trading. Which ones reacted a little bit more bullishly? Which ones were relatively weak compared to the fact that the whole market was bouncing? Put into that bucket, and there were some easier shorts out there today because of it. You don't always have to be perfect. You don't have to predict everything. But it wasn't that difficult to find some things to be biased to the short side because they were trash on Friday when everything was strong. And sometimes that's all you need. I mean, the other thing you apparently only need is to wait till the game goes to 3-on-3, which isn't real hockey, and a fantastic goalie, of course, that can stop everything. So with that, that's your lesson of the day. I can report on the lunch. I have started eating it. The chicken is dry, but there is a ton of protein with the lunch today. Like it was a hefty amount of the grilled chicken, but it was a little bit dry. So I enjoyed it. I'll give it a, I don't know, I usually give things like a 7.2% for the lunch today because of the quantity of protein. But make things easy on yourself, everybody. Identify relative strength and weakness when we have big events like the Supreme Court decision on Friday, and that's an easier way to start your morning with some bias. Even whether you like short, whether you like long, you can make the work a heck of a lot easier just by that one step. Back to Sharif and Joe, go get them.
Thank you very much, Neil. Wise words as always. Great call out there. And yeah, it's been a headline-driven, I would say, year so far.
Yeah, absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
Last, year to date, anyway. Guys, so let's update you on a couple of the positions, and then we'll give Joe an opportunity to rant about the 3-on-3.
Oh.
Because
I
really want to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, CETY. Look, it bamboozled me, right? It dropped in to the volume-weighted average price. I wasn't alive to that support level there, namely because it hadn't tested VWAP at all, so I didn't have a bias that VWAP would come in as support. It looks like it double bottomed at 90, so I did get stopped out. Less than break even, so I made more than break even, excuse me, on the last remaining amount, but I feel that I've missed a possible entry opportunity here at 92, 91 pennies, as it did rocket back up to about 99, showing 95. It's showing 96 right now. So CETY will continue to be in focus for me. I'm all out of ALUR, even though with ALUR, I still have a bias here that we could see a flat top break. And the reason I continue to have that same bias is that we have these higher lows. And there it goes, right back up into 170. But now, we are also putting in, I would say, quite obvious lower high, right? I mean, sure, you don't have that very clear area crest before that double top at 1015 and 1020, so you're having to kind of connect them with the wicks, but it feels like it is a bit of compression pattern. Now, most of the time when something's up, like ALUR is on the day, about 55%, the compression pattern will resolve in the direction of the trend, and the trend, easily to know, it's 55%, so it's up. It will resolve in that direction. That hasn't been happening all the time lately, and I don't have the data, but I don't think it's more than 50% of the time. So I am kind of concerned about some of the names that are continuing to kind of pull back. SGN is losing the bid, so I was right. This is a double top. That's what we were talking about, that double top at 80. Now my bias goes with this one. If it loses that 72 to 71 penny breakout area that it defended multiple times, then I'd be looking for a move back into VWAP. Now, I will likely be a buyer at VWAP Assassino around this area here. Okay, rather than looking short. Initially, anyway, I'll be looking to buy between 70 to 68 pennies, really depending on where the price action ends up bottoming out. But if it loses 68 pennies or wherever VWAP is at the time, I'm out, and I'll be looking short. So here it comes. It's coming into that 72 penny area. I have a bias that the breakout area is between 72 to 71. So let's see what SGN has to offer here. I don't mind trading it in whichever way it'll go, but for the moment, guys, we're in no positions. I think we were in 4 positions at one time today, but right now I got to stay clear. Zen Zombie, another super chat. Thank you very much, Zen, for the umpteenth super chat on the day. He's saying YMAT. Let's have a look at YMAT, Joey. Okay, nice breakout there. Looks like this has been moving though since the volume came in at about 950. This is YMAT is the ticker. Let me throw in the ticker, and then we'll discuss a little bit about the name. So YMAT, J-Star Holdings, about a little bit less than $11 million market cap. They're a Taiwan-based company engaged in development and commercialization of carbon fiber composite materials made from carbon fiber. Can you believe it? Carbon fiber composite materials made from carbon fiber. What's this world coming to?
I thought it was from something else.
And resin, as well as resin system technologies, designs, manufactures a variety of lightweight, high-performance carbon. Okay, great. Do they have a headline? They do. Signs an exclusive distribution agreement with PSSB. That's as much as I'm going to go into that headline. So there's a headline. It's a new. I don't want to say new. It came in at 9 a.m. Hence the price spike up at around 9:20. It did find a price spike up at 9 a.m. But the volume was super light. Anyway, the volume participation came at about 10 to 10 at about 9:50. It did lose VWAP. It's trying right now to get back above it. I'd say, you know, let's break this downtrend here. And that's a very clear downtrend. And I was telling Joey on Friday, I'm like, I feel these breakouts that have prolonged downtrends that are unbroken, and then they end up getting broken are the A to A+ setups. And the beautiful thing is, if they're gonna break the trend line and put in a lower high than the prior area high or prior area crest, you're gonna have notice of that because it's gonna give you a 2-3 candle pullback and a rounded top and a lower high. So another area crest, but a lower area crest. So that's why I like these ones. So first and foremost, look for a decided break of that lower trend line on YMAT. And if you get that decided break, you know, be ready, you know, that it could take out area highs, but also be ready that it could put in a lower high. And that would be the way that I would approach it. So thank you for that, brother. Notorious Dingleberg. I can read some of those letters, not all of them. I see Jia is the third character there. I know that first one, that 4 and the 0. Dang it, where's that? I forget the name. I forget that though. I'm gonna have to copy and paste that. I'm gonna have to find out exactly what that means. But yeah, thank you for that. And Joey, what are you looking at, brother?
Just looking at the overall market and all our good American friends being really nice to us considering we lost. And everything.
Yeah.
We got called a wambulance. Going on there. Canada sucks at hockey, essentially, pretty much. USA is the best. Boy. Just stay in the corner and just really, really good winning. So call them ambulance. No, I'm only joking anyways, guys. It's all fun and games. It honestly has no effect on me whatsoever. Obviously, we would have liked to win. Aside from the 3-on-3, I don't really have an issue with it.
Yeah, let's talk about that. First of all, why is it not 4-on-4?
Because if you're going to do that, I think it's just kind of mimic the NHL. Yeah. When Sydney got the golden goal in 2010,
it was 5-on-5.
I'm pretty sure it was 4-on-4.
Was it actually?
It was 4-on-4 at that time. I don't really have an issue with it. I think it should, especially the gold medal game, it should be 5-on-5 until someone scores, because eventually somebody will score, right? You're just going to get tired. That break will happen. But if you play 3-on-3, at the end of the day,
shift, man. What's the excuse with hockey? Like,
what do you mean?
I mean, in soccer, right? There's 5 substitutes, and that's the end of that. And there used to be 3.
Yeah.
In hockey, you can shift to no end. Why make it less?
Why make it?
So you can end the game quicker, right? I'm assuming
that's essentially what it is, right? Because these guys are someone's gonna score eventually. But at the end of the day, we have the best 3 players. I'm gonna say, if you were to line up every single individual in that gold medal game, from Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar, the top 3, those guys are gonna be the top 3, and then maybe you'd have the Charlie McAvoys and then the Austin Matthews and everything along those lines. But yeah, I mean, they lost the game. Our best player didn't close it out like he was supposed to, essentially, and that's just the narrative of how it is. So, kudos to, no, seriously.
I'm not laughing at you, brother.
It's just really how it is.
When you're speaking sense, I'm just laughing at some of the comments.
Well, Storm J, I don't know if you watched the same game that I did, but the skill and the talent was, there was a drastic, and listen, you guys won. And I'll say it for the women, the United States women are significantly younger and better than the females. The Canadian females, right now. But as for a talent pool in Canada, USA men's, you can still see it lopsided. Even though the game went in the United States' favor, we had 42 shots. They had like 20-something. It wasn't close. They played the best game. Canada played the best game of the tournament, and they didn't win. You can't come down 3 times in a row. But aside from that, congratulations, obviously, to the gold medals. You guys beat us. There you go, USA, USA, USA. But our other friend from the USA, King Rai, putting on a stellar performance.
That was
well,
stellar performance.
Yeah.
I'm a Ryan Garcia fan.
Yeah.
I like his character.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, he's a young dude, and, you know,
Very
all
young.
young dudes, they go through that, you know. Let's just go call it a phase.
Exactly.
And he got a couple of pennies in his pocket, a couple of dollars in his pocket. He ran wild for a year. He paid the price. And now he's back. And the ass whooping that he put
on Mario Barrios, man.
And Barrios is a title holder, too. Now, the title is split between 4 guys.
Yeah.
So I want a 147 or, 147. I want a 147 unification tournament. You got Haney holding a belt. You got Rowley holding a belt. You got Ryan holding a belt. And there's somebody else. Who else? There's a 4th belt out there.
It's not Tio anymore.
It's not Tio.
It's not Tio.
It's not Shakur.
I don't think so.
And I need to see that unification tournament. That is a healthy division,
Out of all of
bro.
those guys, though, I'll give Ryan Garcia the most credit because I think he's fought the biggest names out of that talent pool.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
exactly.
He gave Devin Haney a butt weapon. He went up against Tank. No one really ever wants to fight Tank, right?
And he
fought
got
Rolly.
He
fought Rolly, and now he fought Mario Barrios, who, I mean, is a debatable champion at the end of the day, but shout out to him. To add to your point, at least he's not going like the Gervonta route, right? Like Gervonta's got the money. He's getting into a lot of trouble.
And the kind of trouble that you know you may not be able to clean up off your record. You can't have domestic issues and then think people are going to look the other way.
It's like time and time again. You know
exactly,
what I mean?
right?
So aside from that, I'll get back into these markets.
Yes, sir.
This is why. Yeah, Ryan, there you are, my boy. I was trying to tag you earlier in the day. What a great performance by our boy Sean Strickland over there, getting the knockout. But we have a $10 super chat. From our boy Danny Boy. All right, greetings from Blizzardy Boston / Planet Hoth. Okay. Can you take a look at the chart for NB? This one has put a hurting on my feelings lately, but it is looking like a probable bottom to you guys too. Let's take a look at NB and see what we got from a technical standpoint. NB Neocorp. All right, we'll head over to the daily. Yeah, I mean, so what I'm seeing here, and I think what we got from a technical standpoint, is you are heading towards a key support level. I've gone over this on multiple names like Netflix, which I am a holder of, and Bitcoin, is that I would be waiting for this trend to be broken instead of trying to catch the actual falling knife. If you head over to where we peaked at this name, $12.62, you're down 56% from that level. And is this support structure enough to hold it up? I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be enough participants engaging in order to push this price a little bit higher. So again, if you are in at the lower end of the range, then you do have a key support level that you can use as a stop, and if it breaches, then you can just get out and then re-engage at a different time. But if the pattern's looking like this until we're on the opposite side of the trend, I would be looking to avoid it at all costs, in my opinion.
All right, guys. I don't like anything that's happening right now. There's a couple that I'm waiting on to see, how they end up looking. Let me bring in the side charts. The first and the foremost is one that we were involved in, and my biggest winner on the day is TNDM. Again, looking very ascending wedge-ish, where it had an initial price spike up, and now we've got all these higher lows. And with that same, I want to say, general area of resistance, which is, of course, that 27 2/3. I realize that it's been up to 27.92, but it spent all but no time there. So the higher lows and that flat top is what's catching my attention. Moreover, this was an aggressive mover, as you can see on Friday, right? I don't know exactly where it closed out at. Let's just say it closed out at that 1850. It looks like that's where the closing print came at for there. From the top to the bottom, we were up about 40%. We gave back some, though. We ended up closing about 32%. And then from Thursday's closing print to today's high, we're up about 50% over a couple of days. So TNDM looking real good, but it's got a lot of issues in addition to the, the great chart pattern here. The issue is the liquidity, the declining volume profile, and the spread, okay? So trade it carefully, try to look for the A+ setup. And then also SGN. This one also kind of broke down. So we were talking about that double top. The double top didn't manifest. It ended up holding that general area support, right? So then we've got basically a 72, 73 penny area low. Those are the wicks. If you're looking at the prints, more around 73.5 to 74, with I would say about 77, 78 to the high side. Those are, again, the closing prints, not the wicks. The high of the day is 80. But SGN still setting up in a not so bad way, but I don't think it's at the most ideal point yet in order to get in. GNPRX, this one did break down. It did lose VWAP momentarily. I think I had my stop a little bit too close to that volume weighted average price. Otherwise, we would have ran up with that 228 print. Alas, the best print I got on GNPRX was the $0.25, and it didn't let us in. And then last but not least, ALUR. I'm really keeping a close eye on this because the price action is getting tighter and tighter and tighter. Look how wide it started, and then it's narrowing both with the lows and with the highs. So let's see where this resolves. Now, let me tell you about something here. Okay, even if this resolves in the direction of the trend and breaks above 175, 180, be careful with the bull trap. Okay, I've seen this before when something compresses for that long, right? And a lot of people observe what I'm observing there, and they're looking for what I'm looking for, only to be kind of sorely disappointed by the big money movers who can actually move this thing with big size. And so what ends up happening sometimes is you'll get a decided break. It'll trigger a lot of orders, or people will, punch in quite aggressively as they see the price action developing. And then the bottom absolutely drops off because there's a seller waiting. I'm not saying they're waiting there. I haven't seen the tape. I don't have no idea. Just experience at 85, 80, waiting for those buy orders to come in so he can just wipe them all out, right? So that's what I'd be looking for there. Now, you don't have to be first to this, right? You already have a pre-market high of 222. You have a high a day of 198, so let's say $2. So if you get that 175, 180, 185 break, you still have some potential upside into the pre-market high, or even into the regular trading hours high. So don't be, super impatient with this one. Allow it to develop a couple of candles, whether you're charting on the 1, 3, or 5, just to see if the bull trap is coming in, right? I mean, I've seen this a lot before, so be careful with that. Yeah, and so anyway, I'm keeping an eye here on TNDM because it's coming in right back into that 2/3 of a dollar. And if it breaks above that 2/3 of a dollar quite aggressively, I think I might weasel into this one for a $28 break. TNDM, Joey, keeping a close eye.
Good look. So yeah, I'm still really indecisive here with silver. So I think at this point, if we're trying to navigate this and we're not finding any quality opportunities, aside from this break here, but you're coming back to retest this zone. So if I'm thinking, in my opinion, if I'm going to be logical about something and it's this difficult for me to find a definitive direction in silver, it's probably best that I avoid it. All right, just so to save yourself the mental taxation and the mental capital. Ooh. So we'll head back over to what we got going on here on NVO, and that's been working for us throughout the intraday session. There was a reload opportunity right at the volume weighted average price, the P8, the Pro 8 volume weighted average price. So we have an uptrend right now that's starting to be forming essentially. If this breaks once again, maybe that could be an additional add opportunity. The more ideal entry would be right at VWAP at 40.30, but we didn't get that. So AK Joey Quality, yay, thank you very much. Hangry Wife. So it's starting to move lower. Silver's going to the top side, and if this breaches and we get a 1-minute candle or a 5-minute candle on the backside of this trend, then maybe we'll get somewhat of a continuation to the low of the day. It doesn't look like any form of buyers really want to engage in this name right now outside of the opening drive. Nvidia isn't doing too much. We're getting another rejection there on silver. I think
Joey, can I mention something?
Go ahead.
ALUR broke the top here, guys, and this is what I'm talking about. There it is. It breaks through the top. 185 high. Now watch, okay? Are we going to get a false breakout here, or is this the real deal? Because we were talking about the compression pattern on ALUR. just moments ago. Then we get the breakout into 185. I'm not seeing the type of price action that you typically see if it is a bull trap. Usually it resolves quite aggressively to the downside. So this could be something here. Watch it a little bit longer. I'm definitely keeping an eye here on ALUR. Joey, sorry to interrupt you.
No worries whatsoever, brother. Let's see how this is a double espresso right here.
Me espresso.
Yeah, so let's go over some of these bigger names and see what the big boys are up to on today's intraday session. Other than Nvidia, haven't really looked at the apples of the world. Okay, so we're starting to climb higher there, shorting the overall market with Apple on the upside move. It's a little bit more difficult. Forming a base here on Microsoft. We've been over Nvidia on multiple occasions. Tesla continuing to slide. A nice consolidation. This is textbook stuff, right? Like move lower, consolidate, reject the volume weighted average price, and then you form this absolutely massive leg lower. And the deeper we get within the trading and the lower that we go, these moves are a little bit more difficult. So within leg 1 and leg 2 is more ideal. Leg 3, get a little bit more iffy, and the probability slowly starts to cool down as Meta is starting to slide, continuing to slide, forming a consolidation zone here on goggles, even though it received an upgrade here this morning. Same with Meta. So those names not performing too well. We're back down to 130 here on on Palantir. AMD was bleeding earlier in the day, but a strong recovery in advanced micro devices. So keep an eye out on that one. I was going over some of the quantum names. They're just absolutely getting destroyed. So there's really no point. We're down to $36 approximately here on IBIT. Oh, wow. And the momentum is really starting to pick up. Look at the volume increase here on Bitcoin, guys, as it breaks through some of these key levels. Yeah, we'll hit this one.
No good.
On the old Bitcoin. Here, IBIT continuing to bleed its own blood. CrowdStrike not looking good whatsoever. So your boy probably on the picks continuing to slide, as I seen on Sharif's charting there. We're down like 35% on the year in CrowdStrike. Robinhood down to $72. Once again, a nice print on the 5-minute right around these lows. And that's, yeah, it's really tough. And then Walmart to 125.
What is happening with these cybersecurities? I mean, you can't tell me that the street thinks that every company is going to repatriate IT security in-house. I just can't. That is not possible in this kind of short term.
I was looking at the Anthropic thing, but no, I know it doesn't make sense. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. But see, that's the thing, right? This is what the street does. It over-exaggerates, and then once they find fair value, once again, be like, oh, we really underpriced this thing.
Right?
It'll rip another 20-30% past the high. So yeah, it is crazy stuff. What has DoorDash been up to? If anybody was curious about that one, or ordered DoorDash this weekend, I did not personally. So it's not really that relevant to me. But the Starbucks continuing to perform half decently well. So other than that, guys, I have this one trade on right now. We tried multiple attempts on silver. I'm not finding anything that really giving me that conviction, but we have plenty of time throughout the session to get involved in a lot of these names. Actually, let's do this right now.
Let's do it,
and we're going to pull up the options chain and take a look at some of these cybersecurity names. We're going to start things off with CrowdStrike. And see like what the heliante is going on with this stuff. And this isn't really a popular option. Like you don't see too much options activity within these names. But there's no real activity in which I'm seeing right now that is alarming aside from 360, so $10 away from where we're currently trading at. That's not substantial size whatsoever, and the open interest is somewhat comical. I don't even know if that's real. So there's no options activity on that one. Moving forward, let's take a look at PANW, P-A-N-W, and see what we got going on that front, if there's anything that stands out to us. No. So from an option standpoint, Zscaler, we're not going to see much either, guys. But the volatility on Zscaler is up substantially to 150%. It's almost like earnings, Sharif, but that is not the case with some of these cybersecurity names.
Honestly, bro. All right, guys, we're in an ALUR. I've scalped up all the way into 85s. That's current bar high, 84, current bar high, waiting at 86s, 88s. We have 77s on, comes back in to 78. I put in my stop. I'm not going to allow this to bleed, but I am still concerned that this could be a bull trap. You break through the downtrend line, and now you're putting two topping tail candles. Let's cut the crap. The 1225 candle, topping tail, and at least for now, this 1230 candle also is topping tail. We got 4 more minutes, though, before this bad boy closes. 175 is current bar low, prior bar low substantially lower than 169. You could give it to current bar or prior bar low. You could give it to current bar low if you want to be a little bit more aggressive with the price action. But I also want to mention TNDM. We had a bias that this one was going to work into that $28 area, especially with a 27.92 high a day. And now current bar high is 83s, 27. Sorry, it's showing 88s now on the ask. So this one, I should have had another entry on this one. I hesitated. That's on me. But this one is heading to the top again and may breach 28 before all is said and done. A very, very strong price move on Friday. Another decent one today. Not as strong, of course, as the Friday price move, but one to keep an eye out nonetheless. All right, AULR is coming back into current bar low, into 75, 76. I've got 77s on. Got half the position out, but I don't want to DCA into this. It's not going to be one of those trades. I'm going to get out here, break even, and if it loses 75, fine. I'll look for another entry, possibly around 70 to 72, 73. Let's see what this one does at 75. Ends up defending current bar low. I'll just get back in. I had 77s anyway. Keeping an eye here on ALUR, looking for a possible continuation. Geez Louise, TNDM. There is the high of the day break on TNDM. It takes out $28, 28.07, official high, showing me 10s on the ask. The spread is still quite wide, not a bad look. So keep your eye out on this one. 10 EMA on the 5 is a little bit south of that $0.75. I want to say around 60 pennies. That's TNDM. With the flat top break really being at around that 2/3 of a dollar. So that is something to look out for there if the price does come back in. There's ALUR right back up, so it holds 75 pennies. So here's the deal. Now I know there's a buyer at 75. We get in and we give it to a little bit below 75. Now that I know that the buyer is stepping in there, let's see if we can scalp up a little bit more into the mid to high 80s. Let's put in those profit takers. So if we do get an aggressive price spike up, hopefully I'll get filled. Let's throw them in there. So we're going to risk a little bit here. We're going to risk about 5 pennies on ALUR to try to take out that high of the day. Let's see what it's showing now. So prior bar high, by the way, just to give you an idea, is 185. There's 2s, there's 3s. Looking for continuation now. Let's see if the buyers are going to step in here, or the sellers and or the shorts see the lower high that I'm seeing and they want to take advantage of that. So packing the patience here, Joey, looking for a move above that 85 penny high.
All right, Just Kicking It. I like that name, man. I had to read it a little bit. Just Kicking It. Thanks for reminding me. I mean, that increase in volatility on Zscaler up to 150%. I mean, it makes sense, right? So we will run into some earnings. We'll go over. There goes Nvidia cracking through the south side, helping drag the market down. There was a shelf being formed. I'm like, oh man, do we play this? And dare we short Nvidia? And then sure enough, you break through that support system at 170, at 190.79, and then you're heading a little bit lower. Let's see what silver gets up to around this neck of the woods as well, guys, as the market is continuing to bleed, giving back all of what we had and gained on Friday. So yeah, a little bit tougher of a look. Did we get that poll up that I want to get everybody engaged here. Everyone's doing such a great job.
Oh, Joey, sorry to interrupt. There goes ALUR into the day high. 207 monster break.
Bro,
we caught that.
Zoom in on that for me.
Hold on.
Right.
Joey. We're not even done the trade yet, Joey.
All right, no, expand the price. Expand the price there, my boy.
Yeah, I know. Just give me a minute, Joey. Let me set up some beak wetters over here, my boy. All right, let's set up something at 9. Oh, first of all, let's see what we got here in terms of share size. No, we're going to hold on to this one. 207 high. Sorry to interrupt you, brother, but it was an aggressive price spike up there. I thought we were going to halt.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a nice move up, but it came right back in. So
it did come back in, yeah. What do we got? We got 80s, so it's showing 92s, but the move is still there, guys. Let's see now. Does it come back into that? Well, let's look at it this way. Current bar low is 180, so it's what I've got on. Prior bar low is 175. That's what got me into the trade, right? We saw the buyer at 175. The sellers or the shorts couldn't take the 175 buyer out, so that was my backstop, right? We got in 180 with that 175 as our ultimate out. And then there was a price spike up. Stupid of me, I didn't think that it was going to resolve in this way, and it ended up rocketing into $2, $2.07 without me having any resting orders. So now it's $2 resistance, Joey, even though it's a 207 high.
Good luck there, brother. Gaurav mentioning there's a lot going on right now. Sharif's got breakouts here. T-Money saying we need a moment of silence for Bitcoin, which I find
I laughed at that.
That's it, yeah. So there it is. Like the momentum in the market is really starting to pick up here, guys. But I like this. Why? Because at some point, we may find exhaustive volume. And what do I mean by that is essentially all the sellers have cooled off their shares. They're like, hey, we're done. And I'm not saying that's going to be the case, but we're done selling, and then you can find somewhat of a rally. But what I want to do here is add some shares on to this Novo Nordisk short, considering it's been working for us, and why don't we just continuously stick with things that have been working for us? I'll add some. 40.30 is going to be my out on this one to see if we can go and test the low of the day as the market is continuing to bleed here, Sharif. So we may as well start to participate, add a little bit more shares, whether it works for us or not. Then so be it. I'm willing to risk my unrealized gains on this potential continuation in the test of the low of the day. So there it is. What's my average now? 40.09. Okay, I didn't want it to be there. So maybe I added a little bit too much as it's getting a rebound and did not want that whatsoever, but that's okay. We'll keep an eye out on this one to see if we're going to get any form of continuation, indecision prints. Silver, that short came into play exactly how we wanted it. NVDA continuing to slide. So the market definitely headed to the southeast, guys. So let's not pay too much attention to what we got going on Novo Nordisk, because if it comes back to my break even, we'll have to get out of that one, just risking the unrealized gains. But let's go take a look at Bitcoin, because someone is writing its obituary at this point. And I don't know if it's Michael Saylor and company, but yeah, it's not looking good. 36.54. So T-Money and everybody, moment of silence. Kathy, we're trying to go through a moment of silence.
Stop calling, bro.
Yeah. I mean, who's calling my phone?
I love that one.
Yeah, so yeah. Anyways,
Is it Stacy?
Yeah, no, it's Kathy. Get it?
I love it. Yes.
Wood.
Is it Kathy?
Yeah,
my
so
man.
we're trying to have a moment of silence. But yeah,
Get
Bitcoin not looking too good, 36.52. Momentum to the downside. NVDA heading towards a key pivot level as well, too, guys. And the market just continuing to bleed. So we added on that one. Let's see. It was really, really delayed. This ad was not good and not necessarily what I wanted. But if we break this trend and open up on the backside, then I will have to just give back the unrealized gains on that front and just accept the trade for what it is and look for some further opportunities here, Sharif.
All right, guys. Shout out to Texas TX Jet Fan. Calling out GNPRX, one that we were involved in earlier, into the high of the day. It goes, it's a 232 high. Again, you know, not a lot of volume done on this, but a great looking chart pattern. So if you were able to kind of stomach some of the initial price volatility on this one, losing VWAP momentarily, quickly reclaiming it, you were rewarded. So good on you guys. I don't have a trade on it until it gets back in to possibly 222 or 225. It's pretty close to 225. The reason I'm earmarking that 225 is because we used it as resistance for a long time. Look at all this is 225 right here. Look at all the prints that reject. And even when we did clear it at 1208, 1209, it quickly dropped back into 215. So let's see what it does now. I'm certainly watching GNPRX. It's one of the better movers on the day. And, you know, given that the Russell 2000 is down 2.5%, we should just be thankful, at least I am, that there's some small cap gappers to trade. The most important of which, at least for me at the moment, is ALUR. Look, we're well off that 207 high, but when I look at the chart pattern on the 5, Assassino, it is unbroken in the higher lows that it's been putting in, so this keeps me in the trade. And we haven't put a red candle since that 1220 candle. It's 1240, so 20 minutes of greenery, despite the fact, of course, that we did get that topping tail candle into 2, but, you know, there's going to be a lot of profit taking, a lot of short selling north or around that whole dollar level, so be on the lookout for that. I'm still holding here with a bias that we test that 207 high. If I get really lucky, you know, we'll get into that pre-market high, which is around 222. So keeping a close eye here on ALUR, looking for more entries on it. IBRX is losing the bid in a hurry. In fact, this one seems like a Luis Barbados special, right? Where he looks for the loss of VWAP, and shout out to him, man. For the loss of VWAP on a small cap gapper, only to do what, Joey? To come back in from the south side to try to test VWAP from the south side, to try to reclaim it and then reject. I think that is a great short candidate. Moreover, you're still getting those lower highs. Look how many opportunities, you guys, anybody got for that short off VWAP. You got it on a 2-3 candle basis over here, 11.15, 11.20. You got it on a 3 to 4 candle basis over here from 12.15 to the loss at 12.30. So good look here for the shorts on IBRX. I haven't looked short on it today. I'm looking long on ALUR and TNDM. TNDM, if this one comes back into 25, 75, 25, 27, sorry, and 2/3, I'm buying. That's, of course, predicated upon losing $28, but I like that 10 EMA on the 5, 25, 27.75, 27.65 is a buy area for me. Let's see what we got over here. Yeah, I'm keeping an eye on PayPal. I've got it on the top screen. It is very respectful of the 10 EMA on the 5. Let's bring in PayPal, and then we'll cover the news item on that for those who are just joining us right now and who didn't hear the earlier call out. So this is the 10 EMA, as it always is, the green line. It looks, moreover, that it's breaking trend. It was putting in lower highs, and here comes PayPal. So the high of the day is this prior high, 45.67. We're getting into 45.25. We didn't spend barely any time. That was after the halt. Of course, this was a halt right there. We opened up at around, I want to say 45.90, 45.80 something. And then we topped out, as I mentioned, on that 11.30 candle on the 5-minute chart at 45.67. We're breaking trend. We're also holding the 10 EMA on the 5. So good look right now for PayPal. This one is not on the what's it called? The news, because obviously it broke up later. So I'm just trying to find the article for you guys so that we can kind of just go over it here very quickly. Just allow me to find the right article, the one that's not that long. There it is. Okay, so let's bring that in, Assassino. We're going to zoom in. So here it is, guys. In case you're just joining us, shares of PayPal are rising. It says we're rising after Bloomberg's Ryan Gould, Matthew Monks, and Dinesh Nair, as well as Paige Smith, reported the company is drawing takeover interest from possible suitors after the stock slide wiped out nearly half of its value, according to people familiar with the matter. The company has filed meetings with banks amid unsolicited interest from buyers, with at least one large rival eyeing the whole company and others only interest in certain assets, sources told Bloomberg. Also, there's a longer one here. Let me just load it up, and then you guys can view it. Here it is, and you guys can screenshot that if you want. Go ahead and read that. That comes, I believe, vis-a-vis Reuters, but this was broken by Bloomberg. So good luck, obviously, for those who are holding PayPal. They probably needed some good news here, Joey, and it's up 8.25 on the day. Block, XYZ, I haven't looked as a possible sympathy play. Block, let me just check my FinTech watch list over here. XYZ is still down, I believe. Yeah, it's down almost 4%, so didn't really find any support there. And guys, Lee, look, here's my watch list, Assassino. So look, FinTech, DeFi, that's my watch list there. There's only one name that's green, and that's PYPL. Everything else is decidedly red and high to mid-single digit red. So that's kind of the kind of pain that the market is putting in today.
Absolutely. Yeah, just listen to a little Deirdre right now, see what she has to say on this SaaS
Bosa?
thing going on. Yeah, Bosa.
I know you're a fan.
Yeah. we can call it that. Big fan of Deirdre. But aside from that, yeah, Sharif, it's not looking too good in the overall market today. We thought that we'd see a little bit of a rally, maybe a sustained one at that, from all the news that we heard on Friday, but that hasn't been the case whatsoever as the market is continuing to slide. We got all out of this Novo Nordisk trade, guys. I just came back and I'm like, you know what? This was a really bad ad, especially if we didn't get the continuation, right? So we just get out of that, lock in, whatever. And then it's slightly green here today. Nothing to write home about, a couple of cups of Joe, and that's it. So yeah, so the Qs, we got our eyes on the same names here. There was a nice indecision print off of the lows, but it wasn't large enough in order for me to really engage for potential long. But I was saying momentarily, not too long ago, the fact that is that when you see that aggressive, it's kind of like, it feels like almost like a final push to the downside where the volume really steps in. You're getting a bunch of individuals stopped out who are going short. You have that last squeeze, and then you somewhat recovery rally, and I'm saying an exhaustive volume standpoint. So I have a little bit of a feeling that that's going on. I'm not saying that's going to be the case because you can see silver is continuing to slide, Bitcoin But I'm more or less referring to the tech names. Yes, silver really continuing to the south side, but it consolidates, makes an additional leg lower, consolidates a little bit longer, has a little bit of a move, and then sure enough, it just continuously makes the next leg. So we'll keep an eye out on that. Novo Nordisk, we might have been out prematurely, but that's fine as it came back into that 40.18 level. I added too much because my average came from 40.56 or something along those lines all the way down to 15 or to 10s, and I wanted it to be around 30 right at the volume weighted average price. So I put on too much size, and that kind of just ruined my free roll method. I didn't calculate, obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have ran into that issue. Aside from that, let's head back over to our watch list and see what we got going on. If there's anything attractive to us that's been selling aggressively and we might be able to find somewhat of a bounce. How's my friend TKO performing today? No liquidity, but selling off on today's session. Warner Brothers Discovery, not too much going on that front. Paramount Skydance here as well, too, guys, is continuing to slide. Speaking of that, let's take a look at where Netflix is. Starbucks, Netflix, where are you? $75, okay. Not horrible, but not great either, as this downtrend is still fully intact. People were asking me like, hey, Joe, I'm really starting to get attractive to the Bitcoin price. I stand on the same narrative, right? This is a waterfall type move in IBIT, BTC, whatever it may be. Adair brought to us this morning that we're 6 weeks consecutive to the downside here in Bitcoin. Until we hold and we form that consolidation and sit on the other side of this trend, I don't know if I'm going to be engaging just yet. I'm okay with higher prices with more conviction opposed to just me trying to catch a falling knife. Applied Digital, a name that was performing really well, guys, is continuing to slide here with a high of around $42. You're now down 30+%, 33 to be exact, from that previous pivot high on Applied Digital, a name that was standing out for quite some time. Doesn't seem to be the narrative right now. So a lot of bear market territory and a lot of big time names. And we broke that support level on CrowdStrike and some of these cybersecurity plays. Not too good of a look whatsoever. We'll head over and see what we got going on. 40% off of that high. That is insane on a name like CrowdStrike. Adair, what do you have for us?
Yeah, just want to let you guys know here, MSFT, very minor headline, but I am seeing this circulate, so I want to mention it. Microsoft 365 announcing that an issue that I guess they had was resolved after a third-party multi-factor authorization provider deployed a fix in its environment. So I didn't even hear about this issue. Sometimes I'll hear if there are issues, but either way, MSFT announcing that an issue they did have with 365 has since been resolved by their third-party multi-factor authentication provider. Back to you.
Go ahead. All right, good stuff. Yeah, absolutely. So essentially what I'm getting at here is you have these big names starting to really slide as well. Like there's Microsoft down 30% off of its highs. That's insane. Okay, so I mean, I shouldn't call it insane. It's nothing. It's not like it hasn't happened before, but it's not a good look, right? Especially in it sucks in the long-term portfolio or whatever you're swinging or trying to grab the bottom, and then you have the BM&Rs and the MSTRs who are down 60-70% off of their highs. We'll take a look at what BM&R is up to. I thought that it would have had this breakout here, right? But that wasn't the case. Sharif and I were both looking at this quite in the summertime, I think. But you're down 87% in Bitmine immersion from that previous $150 high, $155 high. We head back over to the MSTRs and see what we got going on that front. And it's not any prettier, right? Like obviously this is almost a leveraged Bitcoin play. The previous peak of $546, you're down 77% in that, and there's no sign of a break in the trend. I don't know if this is going to be a better gauge than using Bitcoin, but I like this trend. And if you happen to sit on the backside of it, you obviously want to correlate it with Bitcoin as well to see like, hey, are we ready to turn around? But if it does, if and when it does happen, I think that would be a good solid play, especially at these prices here on MSTR Street.
All right, guys. Keeping an eye here on AULR, prior bar low 82. We're showing 87s now. Watching here for a possible move of hold of prior bar. I'm getting in here for a little bit more, so we're adding to the position. Let's see if it runs up again. It had a good move into the 90s, but it stalled out a little bit. So we'll set up some profit takers. So we've got 86s on now, but the stop moves from the prior area, which was below 75, into prior bar low, which is 82. So let's go ahead and do just that. Give me a second here. There we go. And now we have to cancel the prior stop on this monster so that we don't have anything trigger accidentally. Let me just make sure that I put all those ones in. Good. So the one that is active is the one that I want. So looking for ALUR to kind of retest that $2 area. If it doesn't, if it loses prior bar, that will be the end of the trade for me. But it was a good breakout. It was a good breakout, but we'll see if it ends up holding some technical levels. Thoughts on DPRO, says Florida man. Let's DPRO. Let's have a quick look. Very consolidative day, only up 0.5%. He's talking about Dragonfly, $178 million market cap. This is the kind of look, by the way. This is PayPal here. Assassino, let's show him PayPal. This is that's a bull trap there if I've ever seen one on PayPal. Be careful here, guys. This is PYPL. It breaks trend with that candle to make a local area high, and now it's coming back down. Watch for the gap fill to VWAP is 43.75. Sorry to digress there, but that just caught my attention. DPRO, yeah, this is too light on volume, Florida trader. If you're talking from an intraday perspective, from the daily, I like that 6.5. I think I've commented on this one before. That 6.5 is a very obvious and a good area of technical support, where you also get a lot of technical resistance at around 8.5, with the outlying being 10 to 10.5. 10.5 the wicks, 10 the closing price. That's assuming, of course, you can get above that 8.5. This is DPRO, the ticker you're looking at right now. Who else? Bovin, NCI moving up. Let's take a look at NCI. Yeah, not a bad look, Bovin. Let's have a quick look. So this is the daily on NCI. So it's been, that's NI, excuse me, NCI. This is the daily on NCI. So a couple of good days here under NCI's belt. It looks like it started running on the 11th of February with a local area high of just shy of 11. Let's go to the intraday. On this one, I don't like it because it's suffering from that unbroken downtrend that takes us to Friday's aftermarket price action, which got into a little bit shy of 11. Pardon me. And then basically you've had unbroken lower highs. If you were to connect the 2 days price actions together, so Friday's continuation into today's lower highs, and we take out some key area lows by, mind you, like that $5 area was important in the pre-market. It was important on Friday, and we took that out. Now we're well above it. So we did lose it into 350. Now we're at that 650 area, but it doesn't change my opinion because we're still making lower highs. If we can break that lower high trend by getting above this candle here at 1035, the high of which is 806. So let's say like an 810 breach, that changes my opinion. But until then, you know, it's still suffering from that downtrend. It looks like the sellers are in control. We'll have to see how that goes. Thank you for mentioning that one. So ALUR, I'm currently holding this one. Prior bar low, as I mentioned, is 82. Current price action, 86. I've got 86 with the add. So we're break even now. I'm looking for this one to hold prior bar low, to try to test some levels in the 90s. If it loses prior bar low, I'm out. Knowing full well that the 10 EMA on the 5 is right at that 180 level. But I just don't want it to break trend. I'm not willing to hold it into the 10 EMA. It's got to hold trend. If it doesn't, and then it sets up again, that'll be my my invitation to enter. Until then, I don't. Now, this is a new bar now. We just opened up a new bar at 1255, so prior bar low is 84, current bar low is 84, but I'm gonna still base my exit on the 1245 5-minute candle, again, the low of which is 82, Joey. So keeping that in focus there. GNPRX also coming back in after making a 234 high. We were talking about how 2.25 could be a possible area of support. Give that a try as well, especially with the 10 EMA on the 5, also showing support at that level. So that's my look there. What do you got?
Good stuff there. Just going through some of the comments, but I have no idea what that means. Genistic, whatever that means. And then Mike Peter Ryder asking us if we want to know a fact. There ain't a week that doesn't go by that he doesn't have at least one red day. Not every, the majority, you have one or two, maybe one or two a week at least, right? But it's just a matter if the winners are a little bit bigger than the losers. So long IBIT, 5-minute candle. Let's take a look at IBIT. Oh, wow. Great print there. I like that a lot, Gorev, on Bitcoin. So a nice move, 36.56. Let's see if we can get a move a little bit higher. I think this could be a good target, 36.96. So any form of a pullback here on Bitcoin, maybe we look to engage. Really good call out on that one, my brother. And it's on the lower time frames. Or no, that was the 5 minute. Let's head over to the 1 minute to see if we get a little bit more detail. Started to form somewhat of a base, additional liquidity grab. So any form of pullback and a hold of these 36.50 levels, I'm going to engage on that one. So really great call out there. AI, what are you up to? C3 AI, something we don't really talk about. ONDS, that was hot for quite some time, but doesn't seem to be the case currently. Circle continuing to slide on today's intraday session. Pretty good print right here. Not too bad, but you can see that you run into a little bit liquidity issues. I would rather find something a little bit more liquid. Aside from that, I wanted to talk about this here briefly. I believe Wednesday after the bell, pretty star-studded lineup if you ask me. Nvidia, the trade desk, Salesforce, Snow, IonQ. I like this. Synopsys also reporting after the bell. Zoom, new holdings. So these are a couple plays that I definitely have traded on earnings, and that's what I like to see. So not too bad of a look coming Wednesday. And then what do we have Thursday morning? QBTS, Celsius as well, reporting, and then Baidu reporting in the morning. And then what do we have after the bell? There's typically nothing unless you're trying to hide your reports on Friday. But Thursday morning, or Thursday evening, we have CoreWeave, Rocket Lab, Dell, Marathon Digital, SoundHound, Zscaler, Duolingo. Are you still on your Duolingo, Sharif?
Every day, bro.
Every day. Good job.
Day,
nice, man. I can't say the same for myself. I've definitely been lacking on the chess front and on the Espanol.
I'm going to say it. Tabu hoishol sibenyayu. That means you can't speak Spanish.
Oh, wow. Thanks, man. I can't anymore, man. I can't anymore. I freeze up.
Tabu hoishol.
XYZ block, and then TeraWolf as well, guys. So a lot going on. I'm not in any positions right now. Long 36.54 says Gorev. Nice print up there. Nice little move back to the top side. So NVDA breaking through some key support levels, but continuing to climb a little bit higher. But if we really break things down, look at this wedge that's starting to be formed on silver. Okay, so this is a 5 minute time frame. We can head over to the 10 minute. And if this is going to be the case, eventually, if price continues to compress, maybe we're almost at 1 o'clock right now, only a couple minutes away, but I mean 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, if we have more of these prints and it stays within this wedge that we're starting to form, then maybe we can find a definitive direction and look for a solid trade there on SLV. As soon as we get the green light to go, we're going to hear Adair, what do you have?
Just be aware here, keep an eye on CVX and some of these other oil plays. I am seeing some headlines with regards to Iran. Axios reporting that Kane, which I'm guessing is referring to General Dan Kane, who is the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staffs of the U.S., again, reportedly warning U.S. President Trump that an Iran strike could have, quote, significant risks. So once again, Axios reporting that a top U.S. military personnel member is warning Trump that a strike in Iran could have significant risks. Back to you.
At Adara, so SAS, okay, Dragon.
Yeah, honestly, breaking everybody, bro.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not a good.
It's hurting everybody right now.
Yeah, it's definitely not a good look right now. I want to hear curious of what Deirdre has to say, so I'll listen to that. What?
Sorry.
I'm serious though. I'm serious on that one. I legit want to hear what she has to say. Anyways, so there it is, QUBT, guys. This is quantum computing. The quantum space not doing too good. So these are everything. Even we did see somewhat of a rebound in the staples. So, oh, speaking of, that reminds me of something. Sorry for bouncing around everybody, but we haven't done this today. And we haven't done it too many times last week. I don't know why I have so many chats up. But what we are going to do, you know it, brother. So let's see who's the best performing here today. And I think it might be the staples. I might put a little bet on that. Oh, do you see what's going on in Mexico right now as well, too, Sharif?
Yeah, it's out of control, bro.
It's
out of control. And then President Scheinbaum this morning posted something to the effect of like everything is calm.
Everything is calm.
Yeah,
I mean, it's nothing really. It happens all the time.
But people are stuck there, bro.
Well, it's typical, right?
The Canadians can't get out.
I feel like you hear about this once a year. like in Mexico. Things
Well,
that
you heard what
anyways.
happened, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah. They got
a main guy. I don't even know his name.
Mencho or something.
I don't
El
even know his
Menchi
name.
or something.
Which cartel does he lead?
It's like the new something, the new generation. Something.
Okay,
Yeah,
so it's not one of the main ones that
yeah,
we've heard
yeah.
about.
I mean, that's crazy stuff there. But
There's a lot of Canadians that are stuck. That
because the West Coasters go over to Puerto Vallarta.
Exactly.
And yeah, so I mean, it typically happens more on the west side because you have Guadalajara that's close to there, Sinaloa, the province, right? So that's where all the
that's
really
on the Pacific,
right? So that's where the real hardcore stuff
makes sense.
I feel like they got it more under control on the east side for some reason. I don't know, but
so Quintana Roo is where
Quintana Roo is
Playa,
yeah,
Coon, and Tulum, right?
Yeah,
all of them are in Quintana Roo.
And it's the Yucatan Peninsula.
It's the Yucatan.
Yucatan
That's it.
Peninsula.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But one of those problems. But so it doesn't seem as hectic, even though a guy, dude, the cenote. So the cenote that Selena and I went to, like a couple days after we left, someone got eliminated there, unfortunately.
They got offed?
Yeah, and it's a really nice place. You would never guess that would happen, but it's Mexico. So aside from that,
oh my days.
it's Mexico, dude. It's anything
But
can
like
happen
Quintana Roo's pretty
it's calm, right?
It's
Like
calm,
you
right?
just
Like,
have the
there's
odd
not too
guy
much
coming up
cartel
on
activity,
the jet ski, right? And
Yeah, but that's
buddy
normal, though.
because of the beach, right? The guys are working out on the beach there, and then sure enough, they'll have. We'll get to that super chat here momentarily. Look at the overall market down today, guys. We have the Nasdaq down 1%, the SPY down almost 1% as well, too. IWM 1.6% in the Dow Jones. As for the past week, guys, we're going to be pretty much a lot of negative, but just holding on by a hair is the SPY and the triple Qs, I should say. IWM down 1 1/3 and the Dow Jones down 1.4% roughly. But the top performing sectors here, we have consumer staples 1%, so you can see a little bit of a rotation. We're not going to call it a flight. Healthcare 0.8, a little bit more, closer to 9. Energy sector up 1/3, and then the utilities are the 4 green ones. As for the financials, down. Wow, I didn't even take this into consideration. Was it Danny Boy who said something? Oh, is it super chat?
Hyatt Trader. I think, what's his name? We know this guy. He changed his name.
Who?
What was his name?
Who is it?
That guy. I forget his name.
Oh, yeah. That's
I forget his name.
That's our guy.
Yes.
The dealer.
Yeah, I forget his name.
The distributor.
Man.
Something the distributor.
Tag us again, but you don't have to super chat again. But he's trolling us, so I don't even know. I've asked. Eddie? Everybody's saying it's Eddie.
Eddie the dealer. Yeah. Eddie the dealer. Is right.
Eddie the dealer says MF dangerous. Oh boy. Thank you for the $5 super chat. If you guys were to become the 51st state, y'all have the gold medals too.
Yeah, these Americans, man. Love rubbing it in, man.
All right, thank you for the super chat, man. Yeah, that's a touchy subject around here, if you haven't noticed, Eddie.
I'm cool with it, man. I've come to terms with the situation.
Yeah, I realized. No, I'm not talking about the game.
Oh.
I'm talking about 51st state. Like, rubs people the
dude,
wrong way here,
I was prepared for them to be like, yeah, you guys, I wouldn't even get, I was going to say, if we won, I was going to say, I'm not even giving you guys province status. You're going into the territories, my boy. Like, yeah, you guys could be, what is it, our fifth territory or whatever it may be.
We take Cali.
Yeah. So
all right, guys, we're going to start the news here in a moment, but thank you for the individual in the chat. Let me shut them out. Gudo 2330. Calling out criminal. CRML is getting a move here, and it looks real good. Look, it's not a big assassino, only 1.4% on the day, but the chart pattern looks, this is Apple, excuse me, CRML. Criminal is up 10.25%. CRML, rare earth stocks, not seeing a headline on this, but obviously could be something specific here. CRML, nothing coming on my blotter, but that's a nice breakout into the day high of 10.03. Let me throw in the ticker for you guys. You could trade this similarly to a small cap gapper. It's no longer a small cap gapper. It's now 1.17 billion market cap, but that's a good looking chart pattern. And I'm taking a quick look at MP, and you're not seeing anything related in terms of chart pattern on MP. That's MP right there. Let's check USAR. USAR looks a lot better. So this is, it looks like it's excluding MP here, and the mineral names are getting a move. Criminals up 10, USAR is 6.85, and MP, unlucky for me, is not moving at all. So the mineral names are all getting a move, so keep your eye out on that. Play this on your way home, my man. Temeli Mike, bro, are you kidding me? Come on now. I'd have my Egyptian card revoked if I didn't know that song. It's Amr Diep, my boy. All right, thank you for that, Tony. I appreciate you, brother, for that suggestion. It is a good one. I have nothing bad to say. Shout out to VWAP. $5 super chat. Made a quick handful of Benjamins in the first 10 minutes of the market. Now I'm just enjoying the banter. Thankful for you guys. Watch every day. We're thankful for you, man, and that's the truth, because we're not here for ourselves. Clearly, right? We're here for you guys, and the kind words, they go a long way, and trust me, they are not lost on us, and I can speak for everybody on the show.
It's nice. It's nice. It's nice making a handful of Benjis right out of the gate, and then just.
It's all about the Benjamins, baby. All right, let's get to the news, Joey. That's the news here, and what do we got? We got a bunch of different upgrades today, especially for the Mag 7. And Wells Fargo was chiming in a lot. We'll start with Apple. Apple is far and away the best performing Mag 7 name, knocking the door of 267 from how I see it. It just got into the day high. And they have an event coming up. So let's get right down to work. CEO Tim Cook, apparently, according to this article, is increasingly highlighting what they're calling visual intelligence as essential to Apple's AI roadmap. The feature initially debuted, of course, on the 16 Pro back in 24 under the much maligned at the time Apple Intelligence, allowed users to analyze screenshots, photos via ChatGPT, Google reverse search, that kind of thing. But that's kind of like that's small potatoes here. Apple apparently is developing its own in-house visual models, and they intend to embed this capability into AI wearables, as we've been talking to you guys about. It's widely speculated, and underline that word, it's entirely speculation, that the next version of AirPods is going to have cameras on them. We got some information about, infrared, this, that, and the other. Some say fisheye. We'll have to wait and see. With Apple, you never really know. Planned devices may also include smart glasses with multiple cameras with higher end materials than competitors, plus contextual AI functionality. Apple previously explored as well cameras equipped on the Apple Watch, though they kind of neglected that. They're also planning, and this is the most important part for me anyway as an Apple shareholder, a 3-day launch window. It's going to be the 2nd to the 4th of March. So 2nd, 3rd, 4th, instead of a single keynote day. And at least 5 products are expected at this launch window here. It's going to be the new low-cost MacBook. It's speculated to be at about $799. It's going to have the same aluminum casing, apparently, as other MacBooks, so you're not going to get plastics here. What you won't get, though, is an M-series processor. It's widely speculated that you're going to get... What is that sound? You're going to get something like an A19, basically a mobile processor, okay? You're not going to get the M-series chips. The iPhone 17e, which is a cheaper version of the iPhone 17, you're also going to get an updated MacBook Pro, MacBook Air models, and the iPad Air M4 chip. I just got my mom Duke's, the iPad Air 11, and it has an M3 chip, so this would be an upgrade here, as well as your entry-level iPad, which my old man has, that has the older iPhone chip, the A18.
Mm-hmm. I mean, with the great success, obviously, of the iPhone 17, the product blitz, I think it's going to be pretty good. The new iPad Air, we were talking about that, the thinner MacBook as well, too. So a lot going on here with Apple, and I don't think this was really anticipated, considering we thought a lot of this move in AAPL, and considering how strong it's been as of late, the iPhone 17 really driving this name higher and higher. And I think that's going to be the narrative. The 17e, they typically do that with their phones. They come out with that secondary or that next level upgrade before they release the 18 coming probably next year. So yeah, it's interesting. Is it going to drive more sales, the 17e? I don't think so. The new low-cost MacBook obviously going to be reduced in features, which it typically does. But what these guys have in their product, they typically do this, Sharif, is just like they release a product and they have this slow upgrade, and then they come out with that new version of things. So one thing that I like about Apple is just they haven't been spending as much as the other hyperscalers and the other big names. So they're just releasing their products to steady upgrade. So I have no issues with Apple whatsoever.
All right, let's go on to the next topic. We're going to talk Nvidia. Alithia upgraded Nvidia to a buy from hold, and they assigned a $250 price target. Their argument here is they're positioned to capture the lion's share of value creation in accelerating AI compute spend. They also estimate that there's going to be an industry-wide compute spending of about 75% year over year, bringing that top line number to about $530 billion. And they say that's going to reinforce Nvidia's dominant position as, you know, that leading AI chip maker, of course, ahead of AMD and some others. The analysts see the stock as too cheap to ignore, especially heading into earnings on Wednesday, and they think that there is a favorable risk to reward at the current levels. They expect Nvidia's Q4 results to top expectations and potentially serve as a catalyst. And they're saying, look, with the stock consolidating below prior highs, earnings could reset the momentum if the guidance here confirms continued AI strength demand. You know, you never really know how Nvidia is going to report, but when you look at some of the other players who have reported, the Taiwan semis, the AMATs, the ASMLs, you can kind of glean what to expect from Nvidia and what demand they're going to guide. And I think it's pretty good. Whether or not the market reacts positively or whatever, we'll have to wait and see, but we won't have to wait long. Wednesday after the bell.
No, we're not going to be waiting much longer. And I agreed with this upgrade here today. I think they have such a good head start on everyone else. And we know that some of the other companies are trying to make their own chips as well, Shreek. But one thing that I will note is that I think they have a 5-kilometer head start in a 10K race, essentially, because they were first to market and they really can drive things. We're going to take into consider the China sales because we're still in limbo with that. So this could drive this stock to a new price. And this consolidation, Michael Noss was talking about it this morning. I thought we would have seen more of a breakdown than what we already have, but this could just lead into a potential move. And we talk about the options chain. We never got that rollover in size and open interest. So what this tells me is that a lot of this supply can be absorbed, and maybe we break out. But at the end of the day, I think in the longer term, NVDA is going to hit that $250 mark. I think it will continue to climb. There's no slowing down on it, in my opinion.
No, it's been consolidating for a while. It's been all that hold and see kind of.
Because like yeah, exactly. And I think we've just been in this position where a lot of this AI trade doesn't really happen without NVIDIA.
No. So. It's this whole thing doesn't happen without NVIDIA.
Exactly.
Let's talk about Meta. Wells Fargo, one of many different comments today on the mag. They raised the price target on Meta to $856 from $849. They maintained that same overweight rating. And the call centers on compute capacity, according to Wells Fargo, becoming the key determinant of long-term AI success. And they see Meta as structurally positioned to benefit from that AI-driven demand, which they have a bias will materially outpace the supply in the near to medium term. And that's something that we really haven't seen too many people say about Meta, that they're going to be able to monetize it, and not really worry about how they do it. Guys, we know that the 97% of their revenue comes from ads. So it most likely will be ad driven in the short to intermediate term. What I want to personally see is the device angle here, right? Where they start incorporating AI on their wearables. But when we talk about Meta wearables, we talk about, that same complaint that a lot of people say is the quality of the product is not that great. Moreover, the use cases, like right now, if even the glasses that you can wear that project some, AR onto the lens, it's super limited in its ability. I think you can see messages coming from Messenger as well as like navigation, some text messages and stuff like that, but no like real use cases like you see. Well, obviously, it's not the same product with the Vision Pro where you're able to kind of use it like a computer. I think that's where people want to see wearables go, where you're able to have screens, augmented reality in its full form. This is kind of like augmented reality light. Anyway, they go on to argue that hyperscaler compute capacity could double to 98 gigawatts by 2027, and their annual capex is now projected to rise for AI, not Meta's, $860 billion, reflecting the scale of the build-out. The firm believes AI-driven cloud growth will run meaningfully ahead of consensus, which will be an advantage for Meta. And they say AI demand is expected. They say this a lot, by the way. AI demand is expected to materially outstrip supply in the near term. This is a bias that they repeat on most of their upgrades or comments today on the Mag 7.
Yeah, it's very curious. So the way that I've been thinking about this, Sharif, is we've been talking about Meta having these issues with monetizing their cloud, obviously, or whatever they need to in order to subsidize for the amount of spending.
Sure.
But could they monetize it in a way where they're renting out cloud space as well too, like the Googles and the Amazons, like create a Meta cloud?
Doing it, though.
They're already doing that?
No, they're not.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
And
But could
I
they
would agree.
Could they take that step? Because that would be massive. We know we've seen the growth within AWS, right?
Yeah.
We've seen Azure, we've seen Google. So could Meta, considering the amount that they're spending on infrastructure in a way to monetize this, could they not rent it out and kind of steal the share from some of these guys?
I would say it'll be great.
Almost put CoreWeave out of business because now you have these big boys really starting to rent out their cloud space, and Meta joining that because they already have the customer base, right? They're getting the digital ads and everything along those lines. So I'm curious if Mark Zuckerberg is looking at that as a possible route.
I haven't read anything to that effect, but I love that because it would change my opinion, right? The reason I give Amazon, Microsoft, and Google the nod about monetizing their AI capex in the short term is because they have cloud and NeoCloud. Whereas with Meta, they're I don't want to call them a one-trick pony, but they almost are. When 97% of your revenue is dependent on ads and digital.
But you are
a one-trick pony for all intents and purposes, right? So that's that's why I haven't had the same bullish look. But look what Microsoft's got decimated as well, probably for different reasons. But
it's like let's be real here. Like paid Instagram tiers aren't going to subsidize for the amount of spending. That they're
no way.
So, right?
Goodness gracious, no way. And that's B2C too, and B2C is lower margin. Let's go on. Wells Fargo upgrading as well. Alphabet calling capacity is king. That's their AI thesis here. So again, capacity versus supply seems to be Wells Fargo's running thesis when it comes to these Mag 7 names. They upgraded Alphabet to overweight from equal weight. Why the hell was Alphabet at equal weight for so long, bro? And they raised the price target, from 354 to 387. They argue Alphabet possesses leadership in 3 defining traits of an AI winner. First, they've got the customer data. Second, they have the distribution channels. And 3, they have the compute capacity. Because of those 3, they're calling them the AI winner. The upgrade also reflects increasing conviction that Alphabet's infrastructure will translate into durable AI monetization. Seems to me one can assume from that it'll likely be Google Cloud. Wells projects as well Alphabet's compute capacity to expand to 35 gigawatts by 2028. That's up roughly from 15 gigawatts that they had at the end of last year. The firm's thesis is quite clear, and I keep repeating this. Capacity equals competitive advantage in AI infrastructure build-out. They are gung-ho about capacity, and they say, look, Alphabet's ecosystem is untouched. It spans search, YouTube, Android, cloud. It gives it global distribution scale for AI product development. I happen to agree with almost everything that they said there, but I don't think it's exclusively, except for the YouTube and search, Google specific. I think that's where they really do outdo Microsoft and Amazon in terms of the quality of AI, because they're able to index almost everything. All their websites go through Google. And so they've got all that index off which they can train, off which they can build, pick up on patterns, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I remember we've had these conversations on the fact that we thought that Google was going to be the leader in this race just due to the mass amounts of data that they actually have. It took them a while to catch up in Gemini, but now you're starting to take that substantial lead, I believe, in this race. We talk about the monetization, they have Google Cloud, but just the ability to collect everything from the YouTubes, from Gemini, is what really puts them at the forefront of this race. And we've been saying it for quite some time. Google is going to lead this race. Is there an end to it? I don't know, but they do have the most data, and that's why I think this is the ultimate tech ETF.
My only beef that was left with Gemini was the fact that they wouldn't let me put pictures of people. I wasn't asking for compromising pictures. I was just like, I can drag and drop this from somewhere else. But look, this is this morning's Morning Note thumbnail. And President Trump coming in very clear, right? It's not giving me weird versions that look like President Trump.
So for me with Nano Banana to generate the images, it will implement like false data.
Really?
Yeah, it'll put like false numbers in there, and it'll just it'll just make things up. And I try to tell it like, hey, don't implement that.
Don't do that.
Yeah. Sometimes it does, but sometimes it doesn't listen. But quite often it'll just put in like random numbers, random strike prices, volume, and everything. Yeah. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's not good there. Let's talk about Amazon. Amazon was kind of, I don't know. This was a bit of a backhanded upgrade. Could we call it that? They didn't really upgrade it. They maintained overweight. But anyway, so Wells Fargo trimmed their price target on Amazon. I think it's more symbolically or based on technicals anyway, to 304. It was at 305, guys. They maintained that same overweight rating. The minor target cut, price target cut appears technical rather than thesis driven, as the firm continues to emphasize that long-term AI is the AI infrastructure tailwind here. The core message, though, remains unchanged. Again, a running theme here. Compute capacity is the key success factor in the AI cycle. I feel like they've been talking to Altman or something, you know, or Elon, because that's basically been Altman's thesis, that he's got to build out compute. He doesn't have enough compute. He needs more, and whoever doesn't have it is going to be left behind. Wells seems to be echoing that sentiment. They expect hyperscaler capacity to double, as I mentioned, to 98 gigawatts by 27. The annual capex across the industry is projected to reach $860 billion per year. Not quite yet. AI-driven demand is anticipated to materially exceed supply in the near to intermediate term. Again, echoing that same, belief, thesis that the supply here will definitely the supply will definitely be less than the demand, and they believe cloud growth could run meaningfully faster than the current consensus estimate. That's obviously good for people who are bullish on AWS.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we talked about the capex spend between these hyperscalers putting a dent in actual GDP, which is insane. AWS, we've been talking about that the growth's still substantial. I forget what it came in at, but there was a slight miss on it, but it's still double-digit growth, and I think it's going to maintain that way. We don't really talk about the e-commerce side of Amazon anymore because it's AWS driving this name, I believe, higher and higher. Once we get this tariffs noise cool down, I think we'll see a little bit of uptick. And then you also have to take into consideration the strength of the consumer when it comes to Amazon Prime, or not Amazon Prime, the e-commerce side of things. But AWS is going to be at the forefront of this name as it's continuously growing in revenue and starting to catch up to that specific segment.
NVO is getting smacked today, Joey, and it's down almost 16%.
Short that, John, all day, man.
Here's what happened. It was down 15 in the pre, so a little bit more now, after its next-gen obesity drug, CRWV, failed to meet its primary endpoint of demonstrating one very specific thing, that it was non-inferior versus Eli Lilly's trizepatide after 84 weeks, and it was inferior. So patients on a 2.4 milligram dose of that CRWV, they achieved 23% weight loss compared to those who took tirzepatide at 15 milligrams. They lost 25.5. More on that in a second. The miss is significant because basically Eli Lilly's already overtaken Novo in U.S. prescription counts, so they're already selling more. Tirzepatide's stronger weight loss data reinforces Eli Lilly's leadership in the GLP-1 obesity drug market, but Novo, they had positioned CRWV, which is a semaglutide plus cagrilintide combo, so two things, as the next-gen product capable of reclaiming that momentum that they had lost in the States to Lilly. Now, here's the deal. They're planning additional trials, which could include higher dose combinations. So we'll have to wait and see whether that unlocks further weight loss potential or ends up, less or more inferior than Eli Lilly's. Management still believes they could become the first GLP-1 amylin combo to reach the market. We already talked about Eli Lilly's retatrutide, which is being abused or used in the bodybuilding fitness community already. It's coming in from China. It's in phase 3 trials. That one uses 3 doses. It's GLP-1, an amylin combo, and something else. So that one, my understanding is, should be ready within the next couple of years. I guess Novo is trying to beat them to the punch with this dual combo, but it feels like it is Eli Lilly's world, at least in this area. Go on here, Joey. Earlier guidance suggested that 2026 sales and profit growth could decline between 5 to 13%. And Mike Dustar, he acknowledged, he's the CEO of Novo, he acknowledged that the reset phase, that they're in the reset phase, signaling investors should expect near-term weakness before recovery. Joey, I think this thing's been beat up a lot.
Yeah, near-term weakness is a tough statement there, Sharif, because yeah, how much more weakness would you want to experience in this thing? It's down substantially, $148 to $40. That's 66%, even a little bit more than what we're 73. So it's been disastrous for quite some time. And then when I seen this news come out and Sharif was talking about it, I looked it up, and it's just a couple of percentage points, not even. It's one you lose 25%, the other one's 23, something around those neck of the woods. But this is disastrous, because why are people going to take less for even if it's less money as well? There's like, no, you want to lose as much weight as possible. Yeah. So that's what I'm just like, hey, fade this, because that's not good news for a name that's already been bleeding and down 76% off its previous highs.
I want to know when one of these is going to come out with something that's an anti-catabolic for muscle tissue, because it seems to be basically just ripping, or not ripping, but dissolving muscle tissue in addition with fat. I mean, to me, that's just a non-starter right there. So there's got to be some sort of an anti-catabolic that kind of prevents that. Anyway, Adara, give us your take on NVO.
My take on NVO is, unfortunately, this CagriSema story is new day, same kind of catalyst. And I'm going to try to go back, because I believe it was December, mid-late December of 2024 when we got our first update here on CagriSema. I'm going to see if we can find it in the chart. The stock did not react particularly well. And here we go. It's this big gap down here as of December 20th, 2024. And that wasn't, again, they didn't even necessarily prove that there was no weight loss. There was some weight loss. There just wasn't enough or as much story as was expected. So every time we get a CagriSema update, as far as I can remember, and again, now this is going back to well over a year, this stock does tend to gap down. It's not super shocking. It gaps down again. What is shocking is that this is the hill that the company is choosing to die on, for lack of better terms. So, I mean, we're going to have to wait and see. I think if they do ever, that being said, I think if they do ever actually surpass Eli Lilly in terms of results with this CagriSema, I think it'll be a great look for the company, because it will be, as our friend Obi says, distinctly different. Now, if you look at this, a stock and a company that continuously misses with a specific treatment and gaps down, if you start to see a change in that behavior, I actually think that could be a really nice long-term catalyst for Novo Nordisk. In the meantime, I've talked a lot about how I don't like this name as someone who trades a lot of weight loss stocks. This is not really a fun one to trade intraday, and why? Chop. Chop, 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 chop. So, I mean, yeah, I think if you can get that, I know Joe mentioned trading it. I think if you can find edge in it, I think that's excellent. For myself, I find, especially given that now this gap down story in CagriSema is kind of old news, just something to be aware of and be careful about.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you guys seem to be saying good things about Reddit there in the chat. Shout out to CityBoy305. He's all about that life.
Said it made him quit drinking too.
Well, that's what another off-label use is, substance abuse. And we've been talking, I think, about this for a couple of years, that it's being studied for substance, specifically the one that I know it's being studied for is alcoholism. It seems to have an effect on that. And I think that on its own could be a monster market. Yeah. Forget about weight loss. Weight loss is huge. I'm not trying to say or diminish the significance of that. As well, but, you know, substance abuse is a very big problem in North America. Let's cut the crap. All right. Thank you guys for the comments there. Guys, there goes SGN. This one is headed back into the day high. Be careful with SGN, though. It has had some resistance here at 80 pennies. This one just barely moves. Yeah, I see it, TT Mass. Thank you, brother. Through that 80.66, so 80 2/3 pennies. That's a high of the day, but it's a good-looking chart, but just be on the lookout. There was resistance at 80. Let's talk about Netflix now. Interesting development over the weekend. President Donald Trump publicly called on Netflix to fire board member Susan Rice. He threatened the company. Threatening the company should it fail to act. Susan Rice previously warned, I think it was a video interview she gave, that corporations, quote, these are her words, bending the knee to President Trump could face accountability if Democrats regain power in the upcoming elections. As we know, the Department of Justice is currently reviewing Netflix's proposed $72 billion acquisition of Warner Brothers, excluding, of course, the cable assets like the much-loved CNN. The Department of Justice is examining whether the deal could reduce competition or harm creative talent markets. But now there are also reports suggesting that the regulators are evaluating whether Netflix's historical acquisition practices and negotiation tactics with independent contractors were foul. We'll have to wait and see, Joey, but your look here, Netflix, down big, 3.25.
Yeah, Netflix is going to continuously slide here, I think, until they either come out on top or this deal gets done with Paramount Skydance. This name, I don't know if it's too beaten up. I think it is, as it's one of the it is the largest in the streaming world, that is, if you're going to go with the Primes, the Disney Plus, the TS.
Chart looking,
it's not looking good. It's not looking good whatsoever. And I think even though it's tough, it's somewhat of an apples to oranges comparison. But remember when we were talking about it, we're like, man, we didn't put enough weight on this with Google and the fact with the DOJ and the antitrust. This is the same scenario. I think this is just a massive weight sitting on top of Netflix's shoulders. And once it's resolved, whether they win it or Paramount Skydance comes out on top, I think it's going to help relieve the selling pressure within this name, and then it can find somewhat of a recovery.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you think the negative pressure here is the acquisition or the regulatory kind of oversight, or a combination?
Yeah, exactly. It's probably a bit of both, right? I'm not just going to put the weight on one side of it. I think it would say it's definitely both, considering, and I think what it is, it's the battle. It's the battle between Paramount Skydance. It's like, is it going to get done? Because at the end of the day, if Netflix wins this, they're going to have such a massive catalog. They're not going to have that like creative block, right? There's so many spin-offs that they can do. There's so many rights that they have now, and they also get the studios as well, which I think is absolutely massive. So maybe not as much spend there, but it's a combination of both. It's the regulatory and the battle within Paramount Skydance that I believe is holding this name down. It's just a negative sentiment looming, right? Like, how much are they going to have to raise their bid? How prolonged is this going to be? How much are they going to be spending in lawyers to get this done? So I think that's really, really weighed on.
Let's check the latest poly market, because we did this Netflix. Let's check. All right, here we go. Let's do it live, Joey. Well, no, Netflix. Let's put Netflix WBD, Netflix Warner. Let's see, comes up there. Well, yeah, there we go. So it's still, let's look at the chart. It's down a little bit. It's not down much. I think this is what we looked at on Friday, right? Like, it was basically the same thing.
So a lot of people are saying we have
23% chance that they're going to close. Yeah. So remember, we saw this. I remember we looked at the Supreme Court as well, and it was the exact opposite. It was like most people thought the Supreme Court was going to rule against them, and it was absolutely right. So interesting how these prediction markets work. Adara, please give us your take on Netflix.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways to go on this. I think one thing that's interesting, too, is this is not the first time that President Trump has actually weighed in on the potential Netflix acquisition on social media. And I find that now this is the second time in a row that I can remember that he's weighed in on social media based on an article or post from somebody else. So in early January, he reposted, an article, mostly an opinion piece about how Netflix shouldn't be acquiring Warner Brothers. He just kind of reshared that. Now, in this case, these comments that he made were actually a quote tweet of sorts from a tweet from Laura Loomer, who is a well-known, I guess we'll call her an influencer and reporter of sorts on X. So this initially came from her post. So once again, I mean, like, Trump posted these words himself, but usually these inspirations that he'll kind of get for these posts do come from other users, so keep that in mind. We know Trump said that he wasn't necessarily going to weigh in any further. He's going to let the DOJ handle this acquisition, but his putting, I guess, his foot down here, for lack of a better term, is, I think, certainly of interest. Now, furthermore, the actual Laura Loomer post that he quote tweeted makes another accusation about Netflix, basically saying that because it actually has deals with Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, of course, former president of the United States and former first lady, calling that political content in and of itself from Netflix. So that's an interesting angle if the DOJ does choose to investigate that. I just want to, in full interest of disclosure, kind of read out all the details here. But here's another thing. You have to wonder, Costco has, of course, a former member of the Biden administration on its board, Gina Raimondo, who is, of course, in the position that is now held by Howard Lutnick. Commerce Secretary. We're gonna have to wait and see what happens. I mean, COSTL also randomly just getting a nice bid here, but we're gonna have to wait and see what happens here with Costco. I think, unless you're making comments on podcasts or interviews like this, you're probably fine. But either way, this is, I think, an interesting look, and it'll be interesting to see if we get any other kind of posts or comments from Trump in this regard going forward.
Thank you very much. Let's go on to the next topic. Taiwan Semi in focus as President Trump takes aim at Taiwan after the whole tariff reset. So he criticized Taiwan's chip dominance. He's been doing that for a while, and he quickly rolled out new tariffs, of course, under his revised legal authority. He imposed 10% temporary tariffs, but then he raised them to 15% within a couple of days. Taiwan had previously pledged, as we know, about $500 billion in U.S. investments in exchange for lower tariffs. It was the 20% originally issued on Taiwan, which were dropped to 15, of course, in exchange for that investment. But that framework now faces recalibration. We'll have to wait and see. Trump directly referenced Taiwan Semi, as the world's largest contract chip maker, of course, for their dominant producer position of advanced AI chips, and obviously competition with Intel, which the U.S. government, as we know, has taken a stake in. He argued Taiwan, quote, came into the chip sector and stole our chip business, close quote, framing tariffs as a competitiveness response. U.S. economic data shows Taiwan semiconductor exports to the U.S. Joey, listen to this. Taiwan semiconductors exports to the U.S. reached $24.7 billion in December. China, as a country, 21.1. One company against one of the biggest exporters in the world, obviously, with dwindling, I would say the number is probably not up after the tariffs. Gives you an idea how important Taiwan Semi is here and why he's so fixated on it.
But that's the thing, right? The investment you talked about, but now this is why we're going to see Taiwan building factories in America. You're going to see that export number come down a little bit here.
Exactly.
Right? So that's the idea of things. But Taiwan Semi continuing to climb higher. This thing has been an absolute beast. TSM, let's pull up TSM.
Did you hear?
Let's see what we got going on from daily. Man, this has been a great investment. When we're kind of stuck in this limbo with the NVIDIAs, AMDs, and other names, it's the maker, right? So this is a massive, massive move from those April lows, and you're only a couple percentage points off of that all-time high, less than 3%. I think Taiwan Semi is going to continue to climb here.
Sorry, 1 sec, Joseph. Give me a sec to go. Yep, let's go on to the next story. What do we got? We got nat gas. Is it still up or is it getting clipped? Because you guys got a monster storm in the U.S., which we thankfully did not get. 2%. Yeah, I know.
When did this happen?
Oh, it's happening.
Oh, yeah?
They're getting clipped right now, Joey.
Take a look at the maps.
Let's take a look at this guy in his radar. He doesn't even look at anything. He's like, look, go straight to the source. You look at the radar. So nat gas is down. UNG anyway is down 2%. Let's talk about this. A major late winter storm, yeah, I know, right? Impacted roughly 35 million people across the U.S. Northeast under blizzard warnings. Forecasts called for 1 to 2 feet of snow. Oh, don't say it ain't so. We didn't get it. Wind gusts of up to 70 miles per hour, and in the coastal floodings, obviously nothing to laugh at. We hope you guys are okay. March nat gas futures rose about 2%. The move reflects expectations for short-term heating demand spikes. But we're going to have to wait and see whether or not the cold sticks, because if it doesn't, this is weather-related, not supply-related. So if it's weather-related, that tells me it's transient. Airlines canceled thousands of flights from Virginia to Maine, waiving change fees, and traders will monitor storm duration and temperature persistence to assess whether the rally extends or fades. Something tells me this is going to fade, Joey, as typically, small cap or UNG is, the widowmaker, bro.
Yeah, it's a seasonal trade, really, I think, right? Just typically uptrend in the wintertime. Obviously, you're seeing a little bit of a pop of it right now. So that's where I stand on it. It's summertime, things cool down a little bit in natural gas.
All right, let's go on to the next topic. Bitcoin fell as much as 5%. Where is it at right now? I think it's a bit lower because you guys were saying that it was selling off. Bitcoin is barely holding on to 65,000 with the low of day 63,879. At least it is on my chart. Moving back now into 65,000 territory after President Trump announced plans to raise global tariffs to 15%. I don't think that that's the reason, but I think Bitcoin is just weak as it is. The move comes amid renewed trade uncertainty and escalating geopolitical tensions. Bitcoin is now down 26% year to date and roughly 47% from its October peak of above 125,000. So, Joey, we've got more bleeding because we're probably going to go down to 70 and 80. That's my bias, that we continue to that 70, 80% retracement that we've been following since 2013. Analysts, though, they cite weak liquidity, low conviction, and midterm election uncertainty as ongoing headwinds. 10x research suggests that the current setup resembles a typical bear market phase, potentially targeting $50,000 before a durable bottom forms. Another thing that we have to consider is if the midterms go against the Republicans in a decisive way, or say the Democrats reclaim both houses in Congress, we could possibly be looking at, crypto regulation or crypto framework really getting put on the back burner. Something that really isn't focused on. Not to be fair, I've seen bipartisanship on this issue with certain exceptions, right? With certain limited exceptions. So what do you think about that? Do you think if the Dems retake the House, in Congress, let's just say they take Congress as a whole in the midterms, that we can kind of put the kibosh on crypto for another 4 years or 2 years?
Maybe, possibly. It depends on their focus, right? Like, it depends on the main focus. Fair. I don't know if that's going to be necessarily the case, because you got to think about it. When Joe Biden was in office, look at the run that Bitcoin went on. As well.
Dude, he debanked the crypto industry. He was quite aggressive.
The Chinese did as well, but it was still relatively strong. I'm pretty sure. So we go through it like COVID. It went on a run, didn't it?
Yeah, but COVID started under President Trump, right? Remember, and then
it moved.
And then January 2021.
Pull up the actual.
Yeah, January 2021 is when President Biden took over. And then I think we had the bull run in early 21, late 20. Have a quick look. You know a bit better because that's your world, but
23. So I mean, like, think about it. So from 20, so 23, all the way. When was
November 24,
right? So I mean, there's a two-year run right there.
2 year run.
I don't know how much it's going to affect it. What I feel like with Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency, it's just like every excuse right now, whether it be what you mentioned from a political standpoint. We know the Chinese dropped this from quite some time. It's just a little bit fuel to the fire. In the long run, I don't know if it really matters. The whole point of this is to be decentralized, and we know how much of an influence America has on it, but it's not just America in a whole, right?
No.
We know it's massive in Asia. You can see the Asian market right in the Middle East.
Huge.
So you can really see starting to grow in popularity in Africa, these are massive continents.
Interesting.
So it's just not America, who obviously is trying to dominate within this space, that can really manipulate and move this thing. I think just because it's so focused, you have the release of the ETFs and everything along those lines, is that like, hey, it has a massive influence, but don't forget, you can get participation in a wide variety of places and spaces, and I think that's one thing that can help drive Bitcoin if it is going to somewhat recover, which I do believe it will at some point.
All right. Just before we go to Adara, here's the BTC chart. So let's take, if my bias, about 70%. So Joey, if we go to 70 off that October high, that means we're going down to 38,000. 38,000. What do you have there? You have about 38?
Same thing. Around 37,
All right. Well, we'll have to see.
I mean, 80%, I can see it happening. There's no sign of this thing cooling down. Adara mentioned we're on a 6-week losing streak. Well, how about 1, 2, 3?
Is that the weekly?
This is the month. This is the weekly. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6
they're
weeks
all
straight
negative,
to the downside.
And they're all lower highs.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, this doesn't look overly promising. And that's why I said I'm waiting for, we talk about the multi-month consolidations. Look how Bitcoin turns around. It's not necessarily always a V-shaped reversal.
Not at all.
You find bases. And when you have a trajectory like this, I don't think there's going to be a base anytime soon.
Fair enough. Derek, give us your take on crypto.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, Sharif, it's not necessarily 100%, of course, that crypto is moving, especially on tariffs. There can always be multiple catalysts, especially for something like crypto, and a lot of times it's technical. That being said, I do want to go over some of the posts made about tariffs this morning from President Trump. He did release one around, I think, like 7:05, 7:06 a.m., but I want to focus on the ones he released right after the bell today because there were two between 9:30 and 10 a.m. So the first one basically saying that any company that wants to, quote, as he put it, play games, in quotes, with the, quote, ridiculous Supreme Court decision, especially those that have ripped off the USA for years and decades, he says those countries will be met with a much higher tariff and worse. And then says, buyer beware, all caps, through exclamation points. Now, then he followed that up. Oh, ads, okay. And I guess it's gone. But basically, like 15, 20 minutes later, Trump then comes and says, with regards to Bitcoin, that, or not Bitcoin, sorry, with tariffs, that, you know, he doesn't need Congress's approval to go with these tariffs. So I think the tariff uncertainty will continue. And I think, again, this is another test of, is Bitcoin, and is crypto in general, going to be behaving as a safe haven asset, or is it going to be behaving more like equities? Now, here's the IBIT chart. This is like, you know, one of the prominent charts here for these crypto ETFs. IBIT, the QQQ, is not looking too dissimilar right now. Now, if you look at SLV and GLD, both of these near intraday highs. So I think this right now kind of continues the look of, if we have uncertainty geopolitically with tariffs, et cetera, GLD and SLV are going to be more of these safe haven plays than the likes of IBAT, crypto, et cetera, which does continue that look as maybe we don't quite have that Bitcoin safe haven trade quite yet.
Thank you very much, Adara. Let's go on to Gilead Sciences. Big acquisition today, $7.8 billion for Arcelex. Oh, let me say this. So Gilead, get it, Katina, man. How's the food, brother? It was good? No? Dry, eh? Okay.
Yeah, put some
Tina Man was not happy with the chicken.
You put some tahini on that?
You put some tahini on that bad boy or no?
Whatever. Or the tzatziki.
Tzatziki, because it's Greek food.
Yeah, well, tahini.
I think tahini's for us.
That's you guys over there. The tahini, right?
And baba ganoush.
Baba ganoush. What's
Get
that?
my ARAP card revoked
halloumi.
for calling it baba ganoush, because it's not how
I like
it's said.
halloumi.
Who?
Is that
Halloumi? Yeah, that's not how we say that. It's pretty good.
Yeah, we're talking Sharif's world there.
Yeah, let's do this one, Joey. Right. Gilead Sciences will acquire cancer therapy partner Arcelex for an equity value of $7.8 billion, deepening the collaboration that began back in 22. They're going to pay $115 a share in cash. That represents an eye-watering 79% premium to the close on Friday. That's what I was telling Neil when he came in this morning. I'm like, must be nice. You know, you're in this stock, you wake up, you're up 50% right away. And if you hold on, you're going to be up 80% from Friday's close because you're going to get 79% premium. Shares surged about 78% in the pre. Gilead did slip about 1%. That typically is what happens when the acquirer dilutes. There's dilution concerns with the acquirer. The deal centers on NTO-cell. It's an experimental CAR T therapy targeting multiple myeloma, a blood cancer. CAR T therapies use patients' genetically modified immune cells to identify and destroy cancer cells. You got to love this headline. I really do hope it works, and it works well. Gilead's Kite Pharma unit was already co-developing and commercializing the therapy with Arcelex. This move consolidates control and strengthens Gilead's position in the next-gen oncology cell therapies. Just to give you an idea, the FDA is reviewing this NTO-cell with a decision expected by December 23rd of this year. So, you know, about 10 months from now. If approved, management expects the transaction to be an EPS accretive starting in 2028 and beyond. So that's when they expect profitability to come in. I'm assuming revenue is going to come in earlier than that. Profitability gets kicked down the road. Gilead's also going to pay another $5 per share contingent on cumulative global sales reaching $6 billion through 2029. The structure signals management's confidence in meaningful commercial uptake if approval is secured. I'm assuming you get some sort of cancer, I don't want to say curing, because that's probably not the right word, but some sort of cancer therapies out there, you're likely going to have a large TAM, at least on the world stage, even if the cancer, you know, that you're curing is a little bit acute. You know what I mean?
Well, big time, for sure, man, for sure.
All right, let's say hi to Adam. Adam James. He dropped 5 in the chat. Here's a good one. If you bought AMD 2 years ago, this week, You're now down money. Had my first green day in days, so I'm out. Peace. And love my lads. We love you right back, brother. Thank you for constantly trolling me on Instagram. This guy, bro.
Yeah.
Anytime City wins or Arsenal doesn't have an ideal result, I'm hearing from him immediately.
He's in the DMs
immediately.
right away.
I get trolled. So shout out to the prickly one, I call him, Adam James.
Adam
Joey,
James, yeah.
what's your take here on Gilead and ACLX?
Yeah, very, very interesting stuff. I mean, if we talk about names with relative strength, here's another one. And we're not going to call these necessarily flight to safeties, but not the typical tech trade, right? Like that you can get outside of that and find strong, steady names. The acquirer typically sells off on the initial, opposed to the acquirees. So not too bad of a look. And I think on this current trajectory, a strong breakout, a strong channel to the top side. I wouldn't be surprised if this move is sustained. And like you said, the TAM on cancer drugs can be absolutely massive. Right?
Yeah, there is issues with this though. Think about this, right? The look. It would be super bad optics if you made it way too expensive. That's one. So
like Martin Shkreli?
Yeah, like it's not a good, especially with cancer.
Yeah.
Right. If you're gonna put it way high and most people can't afford it, I think that's super bad optics for the company.
Absolutely.
Second of all, you've got now this push. I don't want to say it's just in the United States, but you have a push now by governments to bring down the costs of drugs, right? And what does that mean, Joey? That means it's going to eat into the margins. Let's just cut the crap, right? Somebody's got to give up that money.
Yep.
And so, with these new drugs, even though the TAM could be great, maybe the margins get hit a little bit going into the future.
I think it really depends who's behind everything as well, too. What is their objective, right? Like, what is it? Are you there to make money, or are you a genuine individual? Obviously, it's a business. You're running a business. But if you can keep somewhat stable margins and then make an actual positive impact, there is those individuals.
Yeah, I really hope so, brother. Let's talk about Domino's Pizza, up 4 3/4. They delivered strong fourth quarter results, marking the 32nd consecutive year of international same-store sales growth. Good look. I haven't been to Domino's around here in a minute. Company-wide profits also 9% year-over-year bump, while total revenue increased 6.4%. It was really driven by pricing power, higher franchisee profits, and steady traffic trends. Interesting. Shares traded nearly 6% higher at the moment, but they parsed some gains now, down, as I mentioned, a little bit higher than 4 3/4. It reflected really solid top-line execution and capital return strength. More on that in a minute. Let's talk about their same-store sales performance. In the U.S., that U.S. same-store sales number was up 3.7%. International comps increased 1.9%, with total quarterly sales reaching $1.54 billion. That's a 6.4% increase year over year on the quarter, and roughly about $20 million higher than analysts were looking for. They continue to gain market share in the U.S. with their QSR pizza category. What the hell is this? QSR pizza category? No, I need to know. I need to know. What is this, Joey? Quick service restaurants. Highly competitive, convenience-driven, market dominated by, okay, I see. So it's like one of those little ones then that you're just going.
It's like what Pizza Hut did.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
pizza, instead of having all those things,
Good
now
call.
they just have those, just those in and out, essentially, right?
Yeah,
you order it,
smaller
you go pick it
overhead,
up, exactly.
right? Yeah, that makes sense. Let's go on, talk about this part of the report, earnings and capital allocation. As I mentioned, the unadjusted Q4 profit, unreal, $5.35 a share. What are these guys selling, like air? Well, how are they making $5.35 a share on the quarter? Some people make that the entire year. That's up 9.4% as well. And for some reason, it was below consensus estimate of $5.39. Geez, talk about the greedy street. EPS growth was driven by higher net income and a lower weighted average share count due to the 80 million shares they repurchased during the, okay, that makes sense, okay. Domino's raised also its quarterly dividend by more than 14%, which reinforces, the company's got confidence in their cash flow durability. Margin dynamics, this is what I want to hear about. Rising insurance, labor, and food costs apparently pressured profitability in the company-owned stores. U.S. company-owned stores gross margins narrowed, bless you, Neil, 540 basis points to 15.5%. However, overall gross margins, that includes international and franchisees, expanded 50 basis points, about 40%. What? Their gross margins are 40%. Is that good for food? I mean, to me,
I think that has to be really good.
that's really good.
That's really good,
right?
man.
40%.
That's really good.
The franchise-heavy model continues to provide structural margin stability versus pure operators. Joey, give us your take while I find out if that's good for food or not.
Yeah, I think it sounds pretty good. If
To
you
me,
ask
it sounds good,
right?
yes.
We know, that obviously, with the restaurant business slightly lower margins. But Domino's is in significantly more countries than I thought, right? I went to Jamaica. Domino's is popular.
You're right.
They're in a lot of places, right? So very interesting stuff here. And I'm pretty sure they're big in Asia as well, too. Mexico they're involved with. But one thing that I found interesting is Domino's hold approximately 23.3% of total U.S. QSR pizza market share. I think that's substantial considering how many pizza places you are in the States and even here in Canada, right? 23.3%, that's a big amount of market share, and I think that's what's helping them drive the growth as well. You can see it globally, they're growing, internationally is growing. So yeah, a lot positive going on here. Carry out up 5.8%, 8.7% in Q3 of 25. So there's growth across the board, but it's really that market share of 23.3%.
All right, so Gemini has a different opinion than you and I. It says, no, 40% gross margins for fast food restaurants are generally considered quite low.
Okay.
And they mentioned that QSR thing again.
Yeah.
In the world of quick service restaurants, a healthy gross margin typically sits between 65 and 70. Who do these people think? They're Nvidia, bro?
Yeah. How are you going to get that?
What are you asking about 75% gross margins?
What are you paying your employee at that point?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Typically, you're paying, at those restaurants close to minimum wage, if I can just be fair about it, right? So I'm assuming that's not where they're paying.
But maybe a little bit of, because like you got to think about it, Domino's and a lot of these QSR names are on Uber Eats, right? So you got to pay. You got to pay for that, so that can be added expense as well too.
My brother-in-law is constantly about that. Because he has a milk and honey. It's like a Starbucks.
So he has to pay.
Constantly. He's got all the food delivery people coming in, and he hates them because they're taking so much off the top.
Yeah.
Right? Winston, I just took a swig just for you, my man. I saw your message earlier.
You drink water.
Yeah, he's like, look, man, your Trader TV Live bottle there has been sitting untouched for a hot minute. And I do apologize about that. All right, JP Morgan. Let's talk about this one. Where are they at? Because I heard, oh man, 4.5%. JP Morgan's getting clipped. Let's talk about this one. JP Morgan acknowledged in court filings that it did close more than 50 accounts tied to President Donald Trump and the Trump Organization in February of 2021. The closure occurred shortly after the January 6, 2021 incident following the end of Trump's first term. The accounts included Trump hotels, housing developments, retail shops, and his personal private banking relationship. The bank did not provide a specific reason for the mass account termination in its court letters. Let's go on. As we know, President Trump filed a lawsuit naming our friend Jamie and JP Morgan, alleging political discrimination and blacklisting. The complaint claims the bank sought to distance itself from Trump's conservative political views. JP Morgan previously described the lawsuit as without merit and stated that accounts are typically closed due to a legal or regulatory risk. The bank is seeking to move the case from Florida state court to federal court in New York. So 2 jurisdiction changes there. 1, the change of state, and 1, change of government from state to Fed. Interesting. There's obviously got to be a reason for that. The issue has gained broader national attention amid President Trump's push to crack down on what he calls debanking. Talked about that with respect to the crypto industry. Bank executives have used the political momentum to advocate for looser enforcement of reputational risk regulations, and the situation raises questions about regulatory discretion, reputational risk frameworks, and politically sensitive client decisions. I'm not saying, obviously, that JP Morgan is down 4.5% as a result of this. I'm looking to see if there are any other looking at any other reasons for this. City Research warned AI agents could cause 10% unemployment and 50% white-collar job losses by 28, potentially triggering 38% S&P decline. Banks face risk. Okay, so this is taking a completely different look. What do you make of this whole debanking thing, especially as it relates to JPM?
I don't know, man, because isn't this what you wanted at the end of the day with using the AI trade, just make things more efficient? Obviously, going against or shutting down some of Trump's accounts, not going to be good. The street's not going to like that. But I thought we would see a little bit more of a rotation into the banks. I understand that right? Like you would think, hey, JPM being the largest bank on the planet, you would get some rotation, considering it's safe. You got all these hyperscalers throwing money around as well too. So someone's going to get some of that transaction fee. So whatever's going on with JPM, I quite can't wrap my head around it, nor am I going to try to. But I think at the end of the day, the bank needs the financial system, or America needs the financial system to succeed, and that's going to be the case. This is all noise, in my opinion.
All right, fair enough. Equivocal perspective there. All right, guys, it is time to send you to the big boys, but we're going to send you to the big desk with Adira. She's got news, and then Neil and Sean will be on. I'll see everybody at the big desk momentarily.
I'll be brief, but keep an eye here at some of these IT names. Anthropic announcing that their Claude code can automate COBOL modernization. So CTSH, that's Cognizant Technology. This is one that's going to be on watch here. Other ones I'm seeing mentioned here include DXC, which is dropping. That would be DXC Technology, GLOB. I believe that's Globant. It is Globant, dropping a little bit here. IBM reportedly also one to watch on this, and IBM dropping probably the most sharply again. The story here is Anthropic announcing that their Claude code can automate COBOL modernization, I guess proving a bit of a threat for some of these tech and IT computing names. I also want to mention here for the overall market, I'm just seeing a headline now. Senate Democrats reportedly releasing a bill seeking the tariff refunds for the Trump administration's tariffs. Now, again, if there is any kind of tariff refund or payback, this could impact the market and the economy. So just be aware this is now floating around as well as we send you over to kick off the afternoon show.